You know we talk that stick talk, that stick talk. I'm about to fuck this cash up.
Boom. Looks like we're recording. Everyone's all ready? What do I do with my hands?
Hey, I don't know what to do.
Too soon. All right, we're back. We're back. Episode number 2 of Stick Talk. I've officially called it Stick Talk, so I think that's good. Stick Talk.
Hell yeah.
You know, I'm going to leave that one alone.
Yeah?
Too soon. Too soon?
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
It's Stick Talk for now. So the second episode will be at least called Stick Talk. So here we are, episode number 2. We got J Mac back on. He's, I guess, the co-host, official co-host now. So J Mac,
I'm official.
Killshot Racing co-host. So thanks for being back on, Jay. Good to see you.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for making me a co-host. I don't know what to do with my life. I feel like I finally got somewhere in life, and this is definitely my peak. And it's downhill from here.
It can only go up from here, buddy. This is fuck all. And then we got our special guest today, Mr. Phil Fez, all the way from the snowy state of Florida.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Welcome to Stick Talk, buddy. You still got snow there in Florida, or what?
No, the snow thawed out, fortunately for us, so I resumed going back to work, I guess, on Friday, and the roads were icy and stuff, but we're good now.
What'd you guys do? Shut down the whole city, or what?
Yeah, so we had that snowstorm hit on Tuesday, and then we didn't have work Wednesday, Thursday, and then went back to work on Friday. And when I drove to work, it was just straight ice. It took me like an hour and 10 minutes, which is normally like a 35-minute commute. But
did you have falling iguanas?
I don't live in real Florida, man. I live in the Panhandle. It's Pensacola, which is known as like Indiana with palm trees. So that's kind of the area I live. Panhandle living isn't the same as like Central Florida or Peninsula.
So you got the meth heads.
Yeah, of course. Big meth problem here.
Amen.
And not the resources to clean up snow and ice, I guess.
Correct.
The wrong kind of ice.
All right. So, yeah, just for anyone that doesn't know Phil Fez, we got Phil on here. Another Gen 1 Coyote car stick shift. Keeping it Gen 1 car stick shift for now. I guess we'll see where it goes in the future, but figure keep it relative with another badass Coyote car with a stick shift. That's actually, I think, faster than Jay and myself here. So we got even faster guest on the show here. So Phil's the big deal today.
Thank you.
I'm still slow. That's cool.
What year is your car, Phil?
So I have a 2011 Mustang Gen 1. It has a 11 to 12 block in it, sleeved motor with 3.7 piston bore, which makes it a 5.2 displacement, ported Gen 1.
Oh, he's got the big block.
So, yeah, he's rich and fast. Great.
Well, it's not like a 5.2 Predator block. It's still the Gen 1 block, which the 11 to 12 had the 12 millimeter head stud. So I think it's stronger than the 13 to 14 and Gen 2 blocks because they were all 11 millimeter head studs. And then Gen 3 went back to 12 millimeter. But you can't reuse those blocks for some reason. I reached out to FFRE about getting a Gen 3 block used and sending it to them to get built. And they said they don't do that with any used Gen 3 block, but they'll take a used Gen 1 block because that's refurbishable still, I guess, because of the sleeve work they do.
Okay. Is that who did your motor? Was FFRE?
No, I found this motor on Facebook Marketplace. It was from Pat's Performance in Port Arthur, Texas. He was selling the motor, and I just drove out there one day because I hurt my stock motor and went out there and bought it, and then I redid the whole car last year also. Okay.
And it's a blower car, right? TVS car?
Yes, it's a VMP Gen 2R ported by Joker's Performance. It's like a max effort TVS car. It has an MFP ported manifold that I got off NMRA racer Samantha Moore, comp cam, stage 3 NA cams. I'm trying to make this an 8-second car and get that blower stick shift micro record for the S197, but I haven't figured it out yet. So my best right now is 948 at 150, which I did about a month ago in SGMP. And yeah, that's about it. I've been fighting clutch problems with the car, and then I think I got the clutch sorted out now, and now it's just fine-tuning the suspension a little bit more. Best 60-foot I did was a 141 so far, and then on that 940 pass, I did a 146 60-foot. But I think I should be able to get into the 1312 range eventually.
And it's a T56 or MT82?
Yes, it's a Calimer Stage 2 T56 Magnum, so that means it has the PTO-driven pump on it that recirculates fluid from the back of the transmission to the forward of it, which lubricates the input shaft under hard acceleration. And then it has carbon shift forks, I believe, and it has or carbon synchros and bronze shift forks. It has upgraded shift forks, upgraded synchros. It's still a synchronized transmission and still stock gear set. It's not faceplated. It's still a 266 gear cluster in there. And then I have 373s in the rear end.
Likes the party. I like it. I like it a lot.
Well, I guess with that 266, that would be considered a longer gear, would it not?
It's a longer first gear, but the gear stack is closer because the other option for the T56 is a 297 gear split, but then you have a massive gear split on the 3/4 shift, and you don't want that when you're trying to go into fourth and go through the traps and run it out.
So where are you at when you cross the traps on the quarter?
Right now it's 150.
Is that fourth gear?
Yes, it's fourth gear.
Okay.
I can't remember the RPM for it, but it's up there. It's not at red line though. I think it's around like 72, 7,500 maybe. So I still have 4 mile an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be able to do 165, I think, at the end of fourth with a 373.
So that's kind of that's perfect. So lots of room there.
Yes.
Lots of room on that. So did you buy that tranny new from Calimer, or was that a?
Yes, that's one of the very few parts that I bought brand new for the car. Everything else has been like used or reused off of my old motor or old setup, but the only new parts that I've put on this car, besides the fuel system, which is a Ford Innovations fuel system, is the transmission, which I got from Ben Calimer, and then the Team Z K-member and A-arms, and I think that's about it. Everything else was used.
Okay. And did you
got your? Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead, Jay. No, go ahead.
I was saying you're doing this on BMR and Keltrack parts, right?
No, sir. This is UPR suspension all in the rear with Viking Crusaders. I don't have none of that red shit on my car. And
fuck you. Hey, I've had my car since 2016, man. Before all the shit talk on BMR. And in all fairness, that BMR stuff's been holding up well. So
I used to have red stuff on the car when I first bought it, but once I decided I was going to redo the car. So when I originally bought the car, it was a Paxton 2200 setup, MT82 car, stock clutch, stock fuel system with just like a booster pump and ID1000s, and the car made 675 to the wheel on 93. And, I was a little shithead at the time, didn't really have another daily, so I wasn't dedicated to dig racing the car at that time. So all I did was just roll race, which put me in the squid zone, and then I didn't like it because, I don't really like roll racing that much anymore.
Because you don't like men.
Yeah.
You don't wear makeup.
And when I found Alex's channel, when he first started doing YouTube, his black car, I loved the setup on it. And I've been looking for a VMP Gen 2R ever since I bought the car. And then this guy was selling one ported by Jokers. I don't really know much about the port job or anything, but I guess that's the go-to expert for porting on these blowers. And I bought it off of him off Facebook, and then slowly started collecting the rest of the parts, and then swapped it over to my car along with the 4 fuel system, which was a level 2 at the time. And me and my dad did it. It drove my dad nuts. He's never worked on an overhead cam engine before. He's a push rod guy. He's a old school Mopar guy. Okay. And when I bought the Mustang, he wasn't exactly thrilled. He said, I thought I raised you better than this. And then he said, you can't park no Fords in my garage. And then I came home on vacation, and I got to park the car in the garage for 30 days. And I said, oh, I thought I couldn't park my car here. He said, it's not my rules, it's the boss's. So I guess my mom said I got to park the car in the garage while I was on vacation up there. But once I got the VMP Gen 2R on, it was an 82 millimeter pulley stock lower, making around, I think it made around 11 or 12 pounds of boost on that combo, which is a little bit more than what you're supposed to run on 93, but I had on E85, so it was good. And then I took the car on a road trip to Orlando. Came back from Orlando, the motor started making a noise, and I started pulling the car apart, and I realized the rod bearings were like shot. So it started rattling, and then pulled the blower off, saw a whole bunch of oil in there, and it was a big PCV problem. And that was when I had a recirculated catch can on the car, and I'll never put a recirculated catch can system back on. So I pulled that motor out, disassembled it, saw what I could salvage. The block is still fine. It was just all rod bearings that were kind of trashed. And then the crank had a little bit of trash on it. But with the Coyote crank, you really don't reuse them. You just get another crank for them because of how cheap the Boss crank is, and it's forged already from the factory. So I was looking for...
It had an 82 mil on it when it blew up?
Yeah, but it technically didn't blow up. It just made it a big rattling sound, And I drove the car all the way back from Orlando, back to Pensacola, which is like a 6-7 hour drive, going slow as fuck on the highway, just looking at my end gauge and looking at the knock. And it kept getting worse and worse. And then got home and just parked the car, did an oil change. And then there was no flakes in it, which was the weird part. And then I also had a code for like a cam sensor. So I replaced all 4 cam sensors and then fired the car up, and it wouldn't rattle on the cold start. But when the car warmed up, that's when you would hear it. So first I compression tested it because I wasn't sure what it was. I thought it might be like a piston ring or a wrist pin, and then it wasn't that. So compression was still good on the motor. And I actually have like the pistons just laying in a box right over there, but yanked it apart, and then I found this sleeve motor for sale on Marketplace, and then went out there and bought it, and then decided at this point I just want to redo the whole entire car because the car had BMR parts on it, which I didn't want to support because I'm loyal to the Amri. So
oh man,
I took all that shit off.
If people can see here, they both got the YBDT on today, so
was not coordinated, but you know,
I don't even have one. I guess I better get one. I got AV boys on today.
Oh yeah,
I got that shirt too.
I got on underneath this.
I got because I'm a scumbag. I'm a degenerate. Yellow belly.
Oh yeah,
nice. Are you gonna show us your pants though, or what?
I'm not wearing anything.
No.
So I don't know if we can show that. It's just kind of hanging out over here.
Yeah, let's not show that. So what's the car make for boost now?
It has a 2.9 upper with a 20% lower, so it's the equivalent of a 2.6 upper with a stock lower. And right now the car makes 18.8 pounds of boost at peak. Okay. So it's making some steam. And I did the calculation for wheel horsepower based on the weight of the car at 3,770 pounds with me in it, and the 150 trap speed, it indicates that it's over 1,000 wheel. So it's pretty badass.
Yeah, for sure.
The guy I bought the blower off of, he made 1,025 on the 2.7 upper, I think, with a 15% lower. And I don't know if his motor had less compression, because I also bumped compression up to 11.5 to 1 on this motor compared to the stock one. So maybe that's where I'm getting extra power. I don't know. Or the cams. I'm not sure. It's just making steam. There's some fucking wizardry going on with it. Like my friends, they call this car Bruja, which is Spanish for witchcraft or voodoo. So, yeah.
Well, with 150 mile an hour, that should probably get you down bottom 9, right? Maybe even a high 8.
Yes, I think it should be real close to getting that 8 for sure. And the front half is all messed up on this car still. Like, I launched the car, and I don't think I had enough tire pressure in it last time. And you saw the tire wad up, and then it sprung up, and then it hopped, basically. And you see the front of the car, since I had the shots at full loose, it tried to transfer the weight, but it came up too fast, and then I think that
Yeah.
also helped the car unsettle the rear tires for a split second.
Well, I got something that I can help with that. So, me and Chris were talking on the last podcast. I had something I was working on, and it's official as of this week. I don't know if you're familiar with Kai Kelly, his crew guy, Adam Dresiak, who he used to tune him for NPK, tune Claude, things like that. David Gates, Red Rum, all that stuff. He works at a local speed shop over here to me, and he's taking me under his wing to do shock tuning and. We're going to be working
Hey,
on a big thing with AFCOs for late model cars. So both you guys, if you guys need some more control, we're going to be doing AFCOs. We got Penske's. We're doing a little bit of Strange, but not really too much. Not really too much the Viking stuff. But we're working on a new line of AFCOs to work kind of cater more toward the no prep or the sticky surfaces as well, but to cater more toward that new model car since it's so like limited. And if you want to go like a high end shock like Penske's, you're paying up the ass or you're stuck with Vikings, which, like in your case, you're making a lot of steam. You're having some control issues. So, both of you guys, when you're ready, let me know and we'll get you hooked up because
there
that
you
was
go.
an
It's an
announcement I was
official.
waiting to tell you guys.
Official drop. There you go.
Yep. So, if you guys need something,
Nice.
I'm the guy to talk to, and we'll get those cars going A to B, no problem. I know, well, Chris doesn't have an issue. He's always winning. I suck at everything.
Yeah.
I know you're having front half issues. So, we'll work on our stuff first and we'll figure him out later.
Well, that's one thing Phil mentioned a week or so ago to me. He said he was interested in getting into no prep, and
Oh,
one thing I was going to mention, I know the biggest when I got into no prep racing, the first person I talked to about it was actually Sinister Performance. You guys have probably heard of him, Mike Corley.
yep.
He does a lot of no prep stuff down in Florida. He's actually local here, but spends the winter down in Florida. But I reached out to him and I said, what's the first thing that you got to focus on when it comes to no prep, and it's suspension. And that has been to this day, that's the first thing you got to figure out is suspension, because you're not going to go anywhere without having your suspension figured out or dialed in. And I'm
You
still
got
to
the
this day
horsepower.
still trying. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. I've figured a lot out over the few years, but suspension is key, and that's one thing that I'll stand by, especially when it comes to no prep, because I think when you get onto like sticky tracks and that sort of stuff, that can kind of band-aid a bad suspension tuning. But no prep, you really gotta have your shit dialed in.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
also depends too on which no prep you're on, because front side's a lot more
Oh yeah,
forgiving than the backside. Backside is, man, that I don't even know how to describe that without getting too vulgar, but it's some rough shit. It's cheese grater to your tires, and you don't drop the soap because it's bad.
yeah. There's
It's
so
rough.
many so many variables, especially with a stick shift car. It makes it even tougher. But that sounds like you're dealing with some suspension stuff right now, trying to get it down on the sticky side. But that's where I learned a lot, and that was before I started doing the YouTube. Is we were doing a ton of testing, and it was actually on front side like test and tune night, so it was prepped, but not like anything crazy. But we spent a lot of time turning knobs and making passes on the track to get the suspension dialed in, doing the right things. But then, even from there, you take that, take those setups or those settings, and then you go to a backside, and then there's still some some playing around to do, and then you start throwing weight in the car, and that fucks with everything, and
And weight's a
it's
big one. It's not like it's not in your head. It's gonna sound wrong when you're like, man, I'm gonna add 200 pounds to the car, and it's like, no, that's not enough. Like 700-800 pounds is not uncommon on backside no prep where you're throwing that in your trunk or strapping it wherever you can to go A to B. It's crazy. And even the tire pressure is like at local backside to me, I'm running my Hoosier DL5s at like 10 and a half, which, on a front side, you'd probably not go lower than like 14, 15. Even some really sticky stuff. I've ran Mickey Thompson slicks at like 18 pounds. No, at backside no prep, you want to get as much contact as you can out of that profile of the tire. And like I said, if you have the horsepower, which you do, to move that weight, man, put as much as you can until it starts hooking, starts bogging down, then take a little bit out till it starts losing the tire and add it right back in. Kind of figure out your medium ground.
Yes. So I got Mickey Thompson ET drags. That's my tire of choice when I go to the track or maybe
Mhm.
for this dig stuff on the street. But there's a
Good
couple of
tire.
things like I've heard is like the ET drag. Obviously, any stiff wall for a stick shift car that's heavy, especially like the S197, or the Hoosier CO7. And
Yeah.
I've also heard like a couple of different things where like if there's any kind of rubber on the road, you know, Mickey Thompson's going to outperform the Hoosier CO7, where the Hoosier CO7 is going to outperform the Mickey Thompson on like a bare road that has no prep on it or
I
no
can
rubber.
say I can say I've used both tire. I've used the CL7 in the past, and I've used the 3055 series, the stiff wall Mickey, and I've seen better 60-foot times and heavier prep with the Mickey Thompson. But it does want to be ran at a higher PSI, and I also had my suspension set up to separate, and it seemed like that really got me down. I went from like on the street busting out 152s, 153s to like 146, 147s, dumping the clutch at 7,500 and letting nitrous hit. And the Mickeys seemed to do the job. But I did try, so not this past year, the year prior, Hoosier announced their new DO5 no prep tire. And I'm like, it could be just some snake oil. We'll try it out and see what happens. I tried a set of those out, and that was the first time I was able to go A to B on a no prep surface. And our local no prep, I mean, you take the well, you're familiar with my area where I stay at, so you take the worst alley in Chicago, and that's pretty much the surface you're racing on. Like I was telling Chris in the last episode, I mean, in the 60 foot, you got cracks with grass growing in it. It is straight cheese grater, and I was able to leave about 3,800 with maybe about 400 pounds in the trunk, and car was going A to B, no issues, no fuss. And as soon as I transferred back to a CL7, nothing but issues. Couldn't do it again.
Wow. Okay. I know Mickey
Yeah,
Thompson also came out with like a experimental tire also for no prep, but I tried looking it up because I went to like FL2K and they were handing out flyers like it was candy. They're like, "Oh, here's our new no prep tire," and I'm like, "Well, do you have anything that's stiff wall for a stick shift car?" I'm like, "Yeah, this one right here was like the 559X, I believe, is what they designated as." And I went to go look for it on their website, and it wasn't there. So I'm just looking crazy, and I called them up like, "Yeah, that tire doesn't exist." I was like, okay, it's a lie, but
Yeah,
maybe I'm
I
not
heard
wrong.
yeah.
them talking about it, and then I don't know what happened. It just disappeared and never heard about it again.
Well, I think you can pretty much with any of those tires. Like I've seen guys get down with Mickey's, guys get down with Hoosiers, CO7s, DO5s. And it seems like different things will work for different guys. But one thing that I have noticed that's pretty prominent is obviously you see a lot of Hoosiers in no prep, especially backside stuff. So that's why I kind of stick with the Hoosier. I've only ran CO7s. I actually just bought another CO7s and I meant to order the DO5s because I want to try those out. But here I am with another set of CO7s, which is fine. But there's so many other variables, right? So some people will get all worried about what tire they got on it. I think if you have the Mickey or the Hoosier CO7 DO5, I think you'll be able to make any of them really work. One might be slightly better than another, but I wouldn't let that get too crazy in your head. I think the like I said, the biggest thing is suspension, and with suspension, guys will tell you, oh, you got to run this rebound, this compression, this that, but like your car is different than everyone else's car, and that's one thing I've learned too is trying recommendations from other guys on different chassis and this and that, and you really just need to get a starting point with your car and just make test passes and just make changes and just keep trying and trying different things with your shocks that you have on the car and bar angles, because I assume you've probably got adjustable lowers and uppers as well. But I think I wouldn't let too many people get in your head with like, oh, turn this knob, turn that knob. You really just got to get out there, get a basis point, and have someone record your suspension and watch what's happening and start making tweaks and see, hey, did that make it better? Did that make it worse? And that's ultimately testing's the biggest thing. Is it's just
Mhm.
testing and trying different things.
And you honestly can't have enough data, like as much video as you can from different angles. Even as crazy as it sounds, because a lot of guys are gonna be like, I've gotten it myself. Guys like, dude, you don't have a pro mod. Why are you treating it like that? I'm sitting there, looking at my time slip or the dragging, and I'm writing everything down. And the DA, the time of the day, the temperature, all that shit, along with what the car did. And it's like after you do it for so long, you can kind of see the trends, and you're like, okay, well, let me start with this baseline today and then work from that, because every day is going to be different when you go racing, but at least you have kind of like a good baseline, and then you could refer to like, okay, the weather's say similar to this day in my files. Well, okay, let me start off with something like that and then see where it takes me. So you could really never have enough data, especially if you want to get really competitive. That's gonna be the biggest thing that I aside from your suspension setup and everything, that data acquisition is like next level. It really does
huge.
help.
I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but like I've got, that's probably not going to work, is it?
Oh, he disappeared.
I've got literally every pass that my car's made, the DA, everything, tire pressure. It's, I'm pretty analytical that way. And it was actually funny because when we were at Digger Diet, I was in the trailer with Trevor and Jeff Thomas, right? And just showing them like, I legitimately, because sometimes people, you writing a book or whatever, but like mine's like legitimately in Google Sheets, which is like Excel. So like you can pull it up and it's quick and easy. And that's a big game changer too, is keeping track of all that, because, a lot of people don't. I hear some like big guys that do this that don't even do that, right? There was one recently, I can't remember who it was. And like it was on one of their YouTube videos and they were saying, oh, they need to do a better job of like documenting every change. And I'm like, holy shit. Like I would think a guy like that's that big and no prep would have all that, but but it also goes to show that I guess you don't really need to get down, but it definitely does help having that data.
Yeah, I have a miniature log of basically suspension settings, tire pressure, and then of course all the draggy data, and then I data log every pass also, just to monitor the engine and make sure it's still making good power and stuff. There's no problems with it, and it's just like a force of habit, because like y'all said earlier, you can never have enough data.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of draggies, I figured now's a good time to ask you about that. How do you feel about the 60 to 130 Warriors?
That shit's kind of weird. I ain't gonna lie. Like I kind of chased it a little bit a couple weeks ago. I just wanted to see what the car did, because we got some super cold air here. I think it was like 44 degrees. And then I took the car out and I just did a pull in third gear, and it did like a 4.7, 60 to 130, all in third gear. And that wasn't like peak power band at all. It was like starting at like 3,000 RPM and going all the way up to 8,000 RPM.
Right on, right on. Yeah, 'cause I've seen you've been getting out and getting after it a little bit. You want to talk about a couple of your recent activities, like that R8 and some of your other
Yeah, I
recent
seen an
adventures?
R8 video out there.
Been kicking some ass.
Yeah, so that was the day I wanted to go chase the 60 to 130 record, because every time I take the car to the track, I forget the draggy, or something's going on where I forget to turn the draggy on, and then I'm like, man, I have no 60 to 130 data, and like the fastest one I think I recorded was like a 5.3. I'm like, this car is not a 5.3 car. So I went out to our local meet, and then we drove to Mexico, of course, and there was this Audi R8 there with a V10, and the dude was, just talking. He said he had the fastest thing there. I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, do you race Mustangs at all? He's like, oh, yeah, I'm not scared of those cars. Like, which one is yours? I'm like, oh, just that blue piece of shit over there. My car's on F14s, non-bead locked when I'm on the street, so you can't really tell. He's like, how much do you make? I'm like, I don't know. I don't dyno my car. He's like, if you had to put a number to it, and the guy was very adamant about getting a number out of me. I'm like, I don't know. If I had to guess, maybe 600 horsepower. So I kind of baited him a little bit, and I had my buddies there with me, and like they couldn't believe, like, I was talking this shit to the dude, and that he agreed to it. And then I'm like, okay, I'll pull up around, and then we'll go to the spot. And then he gets in his car and he goes around to the other side. And then as soon as he goes to the other side of the building, I'm airing down my tires because I'm on Radio Pros, and like I drive around on 25 psi or so. And this time I was like, okay, like I'm going to do it at 20 psi of air pressure, because I did a test pass the previous weekend where I forgot the draggy, and I did a second gear hit with 25 psi, and it held. But with the road being colder, I just wanted to have that security of traction. And like I knew I was going to blow this guy's doors off, so there was no need to really risk the car in second gear and try to just do a max effort glory pass. I was like, let's just see how the car performs. So I did a third gear pull, and I did the burnout on the roads of Mexico next to him. And like you can tell at that point, like he looked over, like you can hear the blower screaming and stuff. And then I get off of it and then put it in third gear. And I'm like, my boy tells him, are you ready? He sounds like a fucking chicken in this video. It's on my Instagram. And then he counts 1, 2, 3 very slowly. And then I let the Audi R8 just like kind of get the hit, or like, think that it has something for me. And once he got up on like a fender, I just like put my foot to the floor, did a watt pull, and just came right around him through fourth because I wanted to do 100, 150 also, and did a 4.7, 60 to 130, and like a 4.3, 100 and 150. I do have a problem though. I've noticed when I data log the car that I have clutch flare, I think. So I talked to Junior because that's who tunes my car, and we kind of have a correction identified or in place that I'm going to try. I have an N2MB watt box I'm going to put on the car just so I can have that no lift shift feature to kind of mitigate that RPM from spiking. Because my rev limiter did get raised to 8,500 RPM, but
Damn.
I don't
shit.
want to push it out there because Junior said shifted around 8,000 RPM, and Junior knows best. I'm not going to question his integrity or his knowledge, of course. I got to put the car on the dyno still, but until I do that, I'm just going to listen to him.
You mean you're going to listen to the copy paste tune guys? Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yes, and people.
Why would you do that?
I trust them. Like they got all the records. All their cars run numbers, and everyone else that's tuned by them runs a number, and they have the data to support it. It's not like Joe Schmo, tuning the car and like, oh yeah, shift it at this, and then he doesn't have any other cars or he's never owned that platform tuning the vehicle. So it's like, how do you know?
SMP.
Yeah, definitely listen to your tuner because that's how I blew mine up was by not listening to the tuner, and I wasn't tuned by Lund at that time, but I was in contact. I was in contact with Alex though before it blew up. That's the first time he blew up on me on the live stream. That was years ago or whatever. He told me to get the fuck off and never come back. And oh yeah, because back then I was like, yo, I'm like the dude in blues making that kind of fucking boost on a Gen 1, right? Because that's when they put that VMP deal on his, right? And he's like, get the fuck off here, never come back. And back when I was a homo.
Yeah, the same thing happened to a local friend. He went on the live stream a couple of weeks ago and asked the wrong question about a certain suspension company, and Alex said, "Get the fuck out of here."
I've been thankful that I haven't had my day yet. The only thing I've had was the pants situation last week, so that's the only thing I've had so far. I'll take the pants thing over getting roasted on lives.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time with this car since 16, and I started watching him before that. Like I got linked with him long before that. That's when he was with VMP. So I can't remember when I first got linked with him if he was at VMP or just about to get over there. But that was my first interactions with Alex when they started doing the Tuning Tuesday or whatever there at VMP. I don't know if you guys ever watched that. That's going way back, but
yes, that was the glory days when Late Model Mayhem was still alive and the Blower Wars was going on. That stuff was wild. And then
it's wild because like I was an LS guy at that time, so I was on the other side of the camp, and it's like now everything's gone full circle, and I'm like, why was I playing with LSs?
100%. I used to hate Mustangs growing up, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get an LS car and whatnot, and then I went to Japan for 5 years for work, and then I was listening to Alex a lot, and I was on that Late Model Mayhem page a lot too. And then I started seeing what everyone was saying. It's like stock sealed Coyote with moon boost works, and I'm like, okay, let me look more into this. And then Alex's live stream started coming out, and followed his channel from a very early beginning as well too. And I was like, oh, the Gen 2R 2.3 blower is like what I want. And when I found it for sale, then I was like, this is what I need. And it's unbelievable because with the Mustang, old me would hate this, but there's no other chassis where you could find off the shelf blower parts, off the shelf suspension parts, and just remote tuning where you don't have to take it to a shop to get dynoed, and it's on the stock computer. Very user friendly for modification, and you just throw these parts on there, and you can have a 8-second car, 7-second car, however fast you want to go. There's a copy paste recipe for everything.
Yep. Yeah, because I know back before when I was still in the LS stuff, like if you wanted to run a stock ECU, you'd have to get, I think it was the red-green PCM, which was a truck PCM, or you had like the MS3 Pro and shit like that, where you're doing like DIY auto-tune and like hacking shit up. And it was so bad. It was so bad. I mean, the Holly made it very easy for a lot of guys. That's why you're seeing all these fast, like, small tire guys with LSs, because it's like, yeah, like Alex jokes around, just press one, just add another one in there. It's fine, but like they'll never reach the capability of what the Coyote can do. And it's like, that's coming firsthand from somebody that's done both. I can't believe there's still so many people that are like, no, LS is king, LS is king. It's like, dude, look what Brett's car is doing on stick
Yeah.
me. Like,
It's getting
how
it's
are you
getting hard
still?
to deny it, man. It's getting hard for those guys. They try and try, but I notice a lot of them are getting a lot more quiet as time goes on here.
Yeah. I mean, even in the no prep world, you got Andrew Lavender, you got Jonathan Bailey, you got out of our area. I can't remember his name. It's the fuck. I can't remember the name. It's a red SN95. I was literally hanging out with him at the
Oh,
last floor in the woods. He had that bad wreck.
Brian White.
Brian White, yes, yeah, he's got the Coyote. I mean, they're becoming more popular, and it's just like John Quick, another one with a Coyote. It's like it's
Yeah,
becoming
exactly.
very popular, and these
Did you
guys will
see
just sit
Robbie
there
Dollar?
and
Robbie Dollar got a Fox body and he's putting
Yep.
his Coyote in that.
yeah, he's not one of us anymore, man.
Oh, he's no, he's still got blue. He's keeping it. He'll
He had it up
he'll bring it
for
back.
raffle. I was like, I was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy like 5 spots, get rid of my shit box, and just start rocking that one if I win it.
No,
That car is
he's
set
been
up.
oh yeah, well fuck, I've been following Robbie for a long time too because he was a big inspiration for me too when getting into the no prep because he was heavy in stick shift no prep when I started getting into it. So that's when he was. I think he was TVS at that time too. TVS
Yes.
No
stick shift
shit.
car and
He
yeah,
had the
he
same
won
blower
Digger
as us.
Die, one of the Digger Dies. Yep. And he
Oh,
won
No
one of the
shit.
Digger Dies, and I was like, I remember sitting home and I was fucking pumped, right? Because I'm like, that was before I even had the blower, right? And that was like, that's where I want to be. I want to win some no preps with the TVS, and a lot of that stems back to Alex, obviously, and that's how I got tied on the TVS. But unfortunately, the Gen 2R, they literally discontinued them like a few months before I was ready to buy one, so I had to go with the Roche 2.3, but still gets the job done.
You
And
can
I've
always get
actually,
the Whipple. It's fine. Just
well,
get a Whipple.
I prefer not having the VMP on it, anyways. I'd rather have the Roche name on it at this
You don't want
point.
a
So,
VMP Whipple, man? Come on now.
okay. I the Whipple. I don't know. I kind of stay away from the Whipple.
I'm just here to stir the
Honestly,
pot
it's
tonight.
yeah. And you know what it is? I just kind of like like I'm not. Yeah, it is what it is. Bondo Bird, right? Like I know he works over there and shit. So it's like I know he's good people. So
Yeah,
yeah, you
John's
He's
a
never
got
good
some sick
people,
ass calves.
and so is
yeah
Quaid, I think, or it used to be Cocaine50 on Instagram. I
Yep.
oh
butcher
yeah
his name every time, but he's selling his
Chris,
Whipple
isn't it
3.8 right
Chris?
now. No, it's it begins with a Q. It's like QADE.
Oh, does
I
it?
don't know how to
Oh,
pronounce
okay.
it.
I'm thinking of another guy then.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know they got those
never
two
know.
Whipple S197s, the orange one, Mike, and then I know which one you're talking about with the white one.
Yeah.
And those cars are hauling ass.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mike's car was it's the stick shift S197 blower micro record holder still at this point, and that was with a Gen 4 Whipple 2.9, and he did an 896 at 153. So that's kind of been my goal of building this car around that. And I reached out to him for a lot of information, but he did that with a G101 Black Magic clutch and stuff. So I don't know if I'm able to do it with the diaphragm style clutch and a T56, of course, but I still have more boost to throw at the car. Just a matter of just getting comfortable and dialing this front half down. I think I'll do it hopefully this year.
Well, I think he could get there. Is it Marcus? Marcus is what, low eights, high sevens, and his is I don't think it's a sync road, but I think it's still a T56 though.
Yes,
Is it?
yes. But
Yeah.
Marcus is a twin turbo car, so he has much
Yeah.
more power and he can ramp it in,
Yeah.
a lot more adjustability. So
Okay, I thought you just meant like that transmission wouldn't go that far. Sorry, I misunderstood that. So
it's mainly
just
like
meant
a
that.
clutch limitation is what I'm worried about, and then the
Yeah.
blower, of course. But I have a clutch tamer on the car now from Garrett from Second Shift Racing.
Garrett. And that was
Yeah,
one of the things I had written down to ask you. I was curious on how you were making it with that because Garrett did reach out to me a while ago and told me he was getting it going and he would keep me posted when it was kind of live and up. So give us the feedback. Where are you at so far with the Garrett's clutch tamer, I
it's
guess you call
it's very consistent. It works great. I used it one time at Ma Nationals because I put a RXT 1200 in the car just to make the race. Because backstory: when I first put the car together, I had a Mantic triple that I put in there, and then I was driving the car around, breaking it in, and then took it to the track for test and tune because I was racing an FL2K last year, and I was just trying to get some data on the car before I went to the race. And then at FL2K in round 2 of qualifying, I toasted the clutch. It's blue. I have it sitting on my workbench right behind the camera, but I've posted on my YouTube videos a lot about my problems with Mantic. And it only had 723 miles on it and 11 passes, which 8 of those or 9 of those was 8th mile hits only. And then it just worked and it wouldn't disengage. So
that's a lot of money a pass.
Yeah, it was a lot of money
Mantics
for that
aren't
clutch.
cheap.
Right, because I had a Mantic Twin on the MT82, loved it, perfect clutch for that transmission. And I was like, okay, like let's just step up to a triple then. And then because
It's
that's
hit or
what,
miss, I think, with those clutches. Like it seems like some guys have luck and some don't. It's just like the MT82.
right. I reached out to Jeff directly at Mantic, and he spec'd out the clutch. He's like, yeah, let's do a triple because we're estimating around making 1,100 power or 1,100 wheel horsepower on the car when it's turned up. He's like, yeah, this will do it. So I didn't even have it at that level yet, and it cooked itself. And I emailed him saying, hey, this is what your product did. What can I do here as like a resolution for this? Like, are you guys able to warranty this or am I out of luck? And then he said, we'll do forensics on it in an email. And then he never gave me an RMA number or anything. And then my friend Orby, he had gone through a couple of clutches also through Mantic, and he traded a bunch of clutches in on top of his clutch to get upgraded, and they still made him pay a good amount of money to rebuild his clutch. And once I realized they were going to charge me again, I said, no, I'm good. And then I saw Marcus's post on Marketplace because he's kind of somewhat local to me. He's 3 hours north of me in Alabama. And he was selling an RXT 1200 for, I believe, $350. So I bought it. And then Garrett was up there. Garrett picked the clutch up for me. And then we met halfway. I got the clutch, came back, and then put that in the car for my nationals. But at the same time, I was working with Vengeance at the time on a new research and development clutch that they had for their Coyote line now. I don't know if it's available commercially yet, but after Monats, I did a 961 at 147 with Garrett's Tamer, and it did like a 150 60 foot or 151 60 foot, which was better than what I was doing before. I did like a 148 before like free footing it because I was just trying to make sure the clutch worked. And then before that, like I couldn't really get the car to 60 foot, but then I started to catch on what I needed to do. And the Tamer makes it super consistent. With the Vengeance clutch then, because after Monats, Vengeance came and picked my car up actually from my house on my trailer, and then they took it to their shop, put the new clutch in, and then they met me at South Georgia Motorsports Park about a month later, and we started testing the car there and did like 5 or 6 passes that day, 2 back-to-back 9-second passes, like a 955 and then the 948 at 150. So the clutch is there now, and I was using Garrett's Tamer the whole time that day, and I was cutting consistent 1/4 60 foots with the car. And I think the limitation with that was my suspension tune, which I wasn't really focused on because I was just trying to get a feel for the clutch and make sure that it was going to hold and not glaze itself, because they told me 0 break-in miles, just break it in the burnout box when you do your burnout. Like, that'll break in the clutch. I'm like, you sure about that?
Like
He said, yeah.
That's
However,
my kind of company.
their warranty, what they'll tell customers is not to do that. But for me, I guess it was a special circumstance, so we just did it like that. And then it works great. So I haven't had a chance to really get the car back out to the track until then, because on my way home from Georgia, my truck broke, and it finally got wrote off as a total loss last week. So I haven't had time to go to a track since then. But the Tamer does work. Oh, it was a 3rd gen Cummins, so yeah, it didn't really owe me much. It had a rough life. But, that's how it is sometimes.
So can you fill me in on how that clutch tamer works? I'm actually, I know Chris mentioned it to me on the last podcast we did, but I'm not too familiar with tamers. I'm kind of still an ape when it comes to racing my car. I'm either slipping it with my foot, or I'm sidestepping it and hoping nothing breaks and trying not to think about it. And I'd definitely like to get myself a nice tamer.
Yeah, so the Tamer, it has a fuse on it, and it goes into your fuse box on the passenger side interior compartment that's located right here. And it goes where your horn goes, and there's a jumper that comes out that Garrett will provide with it, and then you run it along your center console, and then there's a solenoid on the tamer itself. So it's mounted onto the clutch pedal right around here. You have to remove some trim on the interior to access it, and then it's basically like a screen door compressor with a solenoid on it that actuates, and it just slips the clutch for you consistently every time. And if you want to put more bite in it, you just adjust it. It's very easy to adjust.
And it slips on the gear shifts too, or is it just on the launch?
Just on launch. And you press the button, and then you depress the clutch pedal, and then you let go of the button, and you'll hear the solenoid energize. And then you put it in first gear, and then get on the two-step, and then dump it, and it'll do everything for you. I know it's not stick shift racing. Y'all might say it's like automatic stuff. But it's just like one of those tools, and Garrett reached out to me to kind of work with him on this product, and I traded him some transmission parts, and, he's like, oh, well, let's get you a tamer and then work something out with me, and it works. I like it a lot.
Right. I'm not against tamers. I'm not against it. I think it,
Yeah, I'm not against tamers. I'm against those G101s.
Oh, yeah.
I think a tamer like that, it does obviously help with the consistency and the launch, but at the same time it does help with beating on the drivetrain, right? So that is, when you're doing something like that to try to help limit breakage, and a tamer can do that, especially when you've got a badass clutch like you got in yours, right? So with mine, like I said to Garrett when he messaged me, like my clutch has slip in it, right? It's got just a bit of slip there, just enough to get the job done.
Yeah.
But in the future, I'm sure when clutch up, I'll probably need something like that.
Yeah, Garrett runs a radial on his car, and almost all the other cars that have his tamer also run a radial. So it makes radial work on these cars amazing. And they're doing like 1.3, 60 foots. Skylar Hardy, he's another guy with it, and he's kind of like consistent 1.2, 60 foots with his car also, which is a Whipple Fox body that's T56.
Plus more mile per hour with the radial too, compared to the bias ply.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Garrett's been trying to talk to me, we've been talking a lot about getting my car on a radial, and it's just I haven't had time to go test it, but I have to scale it. And I talked to Marcus Davis a lot also because he has a radial on his car, and he used to run Garrett's tamer before he put the Black Magic clutch in his car. And he said the radial is a big game changer with it because you can cut faster 60 foots, and it's more stability, and it's better mile an hour up top also.
Oh yeah, just not forgiving.
Correct. Yep. But that's what the tamer's for. The tamer will make it, the clutch take it, whether it wants to or not.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that because with a radial, I mean, it'd be fun to try it, but I know also having a turbo car, if I lose the tire up top, there's no driving through it. Like a slick, they kind of, you get a little bit of spin, you can kind of drive through it, but the radial, man, like you said, it's unforgiving. That thing comes loose. It's like, yep, I'm done, abort pass. So I'm going to have to see and play with some options. That definitely sounds like something I might use.
Yes, they say that Pro Bracket radial is really good also. That's what most of these radial guys run is that, or the Radial Pro.
Yeah. The Hoosier has a really kick-ass no prep. I was gonna say no prep radial tire, and then the Pro Bracket radial from Mickey is badass. A lot of guys are getting down on that, and I mean these guys are on the street with good prep. I mean they're going wheels up. Like if you look at Tom Gunner, Jimmy Dale. That dude, he's got a Pro Bracket radial in his car, and that thing is putting in work, man. But he's an auto, so he's got a little bit of an easier way there. But that tire works. It's proven.
Yeah, definitely get more mile an hour out of it, that's for sure. I know there's a few guys running radials now, too. Even there was some guy, I think there was actually a guy last year at Dig or Die. I think that was a True Street class. It was a 240. And he actually won True Street on a radial at Dig or Die on the backside, which is crazy that you get down a radial on that surface. And that just goes to, I think a lot is just figuring out your combination, your car, and what works and what doesn't, right? Because you see, a lot of things too with like long travel. I know you got long travel, Jay, and I've bounced around the idea of long travel for a couple of years now in my head, and I'm like, do I need it? Do I not? And it's like, it's tough. There was a car at Dig or Die. He won the big tire, and he went far in small tire on the second day. It was some kind of Pontiac. It was like what the hell was it? But he was, I think he was even maybe on a radial too. But like his suspension had like 2 or 3 inches of travel, and the guy was getting down. And it's just like, how, you know what I mean? Like he's getting down with no travel, right? And then the guy beside him's got like 12 inches of travel and can't get down. So I think he can make things work. It's just figuring it out. Weight, bias, scaling the car, right? Moving weight around. There's a lot of different ways to skin the cat. I think when it comes to especially the no prep world, because there's guys making all sorts of different shit work.
100%. I talked to Marcus about putting the radio on the car because that's all he runs on his stuff, along with his camp, Travis Townsend, and then Trey with the copper one. And they said that 110% anti-squat is all the S197 needs and wants. If you put more in it, the chassis gets pissed off. So you have to scale the car. And then also I have adjustable spring purchase on the car, so I have to bring that ride height down about 2 inches or so in the rear, and then I should be good. Also, pinion angle, I should probably readjust. Right now I have -2 degrees, but on the slick, my car separates a lot. That's just what it wants to do on the slick. So I think on the radio, I'm just going to leave the pinion angle alone, and I think it's going to work extremely well.
Yeah, sounds like you got a lot of anti-squat in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even when you're running a slick with that kind of setup, I mean, don't be afraid to run that air pressure up. Like I said, it was on motor when I wasn't spraying the car. I went from running at 14 psi with a radial style setup, and I was dumping the clutch at like 73, 74, and I was going 7.0 on the dot on motor. Gen 1, just boss manifold, basic stuff. And then we set it up to separate. Same night, had everything, put the tire pressure up and made it run, and it went a 690. No issue. Same run. Get about 2 mile per hour out of that, and then we started spraying it, and it really showed. And that was the night we went a 640 on a 200 shot, and I was like, okay, I've been missing out on this my entire life. And I think we're running like 18 pounds in that Mickey Thompson. It was kicking ass, man. It's definitely if you can get the car to separate without pissing off the chassis, dude, it's a night and day difference.
Yeah, that 940 pass you can see in a slow motion video when it kind of ballooned up and then wadded up the tire. It's still separated, and where was I going with this? That was with 15 or 14.5 psi of air in the tires. So I just need more air pressure, and then I need to slow that front end down and put more rebound in the rear, and I think I'll get my front half dialed in pretty well.
And you got single adjustables or double adjustable fronts?
Double. I got Viking Crusaders all the way around.
Okay.
Yeah, you got the same setup as I do.
Yes.
All around.
Yeah, I'm rocking the Jeff Thomas fronts, and I got just off the shelf Crusaders in back. I am gonna try out, and Chris, I'll let you know how this works. I just ordered from Viking the no prep rebound valving kit. So I'm gonna throw different valves at them, see what they do, kind of see how they respond. We have the shock dyno at the shop, so I could actually see before we revalve them to after we revalve them and see what it does before we even make the switch to AFCOs and see if it's even worth that. But from what I'm learning, it seems like when I called them, they will only do the compression. They won't rebound. They'll do the rebound. Like you could order the kit and do that, but you can't order a compression kit. They have to do that from what it sounded like when I talked to the guy. I think his name was Colin at Viking.
Are yours Crusaders?
Yeah. I got Crusaders in the back.
Because I called them last year this year. Well, I guess it was last year, 2024, because I was having issues with the tire, like running over the tire like crazy. And I kept turning that shock up, tightening it up, and it was still running it over. And when I called them and told them what the issue was, they're like, we got guys running 2,000 horsepower Coyotes on these same rear shocks. He goes, you don't have enough power to outpush that shock. So it was actually, I had way too much anti-squat in the car. That was the issue with mine. So I changed now mine probably has around 110, because before it was maxed out. Like I had it in the bottom holes in the bottom, and I think, was it the top? Yeah, the top hole in the top. So it had as much anti-squat as possible in the car. So I brought it down one hole in the top, so it kept my instant center still out. further, but I think I'm just above the anti-squat line. But that really helped with not running over the tire as much. But these are all these different chassis, different, I don't leave as hard as Jay leaves either. Jay's like leaving at 950,000 RPM, right? So
I'm a gorilla, dude. I'm a gorilla, man.
he's trying to spin
I'm
the
beat on
world.
my car.
Yeah, these cars love soft spring rates in the rear end. Like I think my springs are 110 pounds on the rear
Yeah,
suspension.
spring rate's a big thing too,
Yep.
right? So that can change a lot too. Mine are, I think they're, I can't remember. I think they're 160 pound. They're red, the nice
Now,
red
Phil,
springs.
what do you have on yours? Viking hypercoils?
I don't know what it is. It's just a Viking spring that I got from Samantha when I bought a bunch of suspension parts off her car also, and I just kind of put it in there because she said it worked. And she did one teen 60 foots with a TH400 car with a VMP Gen 2R. She actually had the VMP Gen 2R record, or 2.3 blower record, which is 812 at about 167, 170 miles an hour.
On a 2.3.
Yeah, her car is flying. I follow her.
I don't think I even know who
YouTube
she
a little
is.
bit. She's fucking flying.
Is she still fucking with this chassis?
She still has the S197. However, she sold all her TVS parts, and I bought most of them.
Yeah.
She did put a Gen 3R on the car for a little bit, and I can't remember what time they ran with it, but now she has a Pro Charger, a crank-mounted Pro Charger on the car, and it's a mid 7-second car now.
Shit.
Like that
I've
car's
never even heard of
badass.
her. You guys will have to send me the link.
Yeah, she used to race in NMRA a lot. She's in Michigan. I think it's Vector Motorsports is her shop.
Yeah, I actually was supposed to just go out there and buy some parts from her, but she's only available in a week. I'm like, oh, that's not going to happen. I kind of was having regrets about doing the fender exit. I was like, man, maybe I'll go buy a new fender and I'll figure out another way to route the exhaust. But I'm in it now, so we are where we are.
Yeah, she should.
Where do you think you'll go? Like, will you stick with the Gen 2R? You think, Phil, or will you change it up?
Yeah, so there's some things I don't like about the blower setup. I bought an MFP crank support last year for the car, and I waited over a year for it. And I got it through David Von Vorst at Coyote Direct, which I bought axles from also. And, like, he's super easy to work with, and I love buying parts from him and DNA, It's kind of contradicting, but, I don't have no problem with doing business with either party. And I kept asking David, hey, what's going on with crank support? Do we have an ETA? And then he'd reach out to them. And I guess, they're all the way in Australia and they're hard to get a hold of. And basically, it didn't come after a year and a half. So we decided to cancel the order. And I just don't have a crank support on the car right now. But I'm also not at that level where I need it. I'm like right at the threshold where I should need it if I go any smaller in pulley size. But once I get this 8-second pass in, like, I think realistically I might be pulling the blower off because one of the things I don't like is flinging belts with the blower setup when you have it this aggressive. I don't really have belt problem issues, but I hate the fact I have to load up with a cooler full of ice, like a giant cooler full of ice for a track day every time. And that'll only be good for that day. And then I have to do it again the next day if it's a whole weekend event. So I think eventually I'm going to go turbo. I've talked to Bryant Rogers also. He's another stick shift guy. He used to be tuned by Lund. He had a black S197. He won TX2K stick shift class a couple of years ago. TX2K21, I think. He ran a 827 at 170 miles an hour on twin 62s. And then I talked to Marcus a lot also, who was running 8.0s with 64 millimeter turbos. So I think after talking to them, because they've had both single turbo cars and twin turbo cars, they say the twin turbo is way better. So I think I'll probably be going that route eventually. But I don't know yet. I haven't made up my mind. I come up with these terrible ideas every week, like, oh, why don't I do this? Why don't I do that? And then I think about it, I'm like, no, I have to finish the goal that I originally intended to have first before I can do something else.
Yeah, don't chase the rabbit. I can tell you firsthand, it's not a good idea. And even now, being a turbo guy, I still look at your guys' VMPs and I'm like, I envy y'all because it's just it's so much easier to install. Like this turbo kit, I've probably redone things 17 times per each component, as compared to the blower. It's so much more straightforward, so much easier to maintain. yes, once you start leaning on it, like you said, the belt issues and stuff like that. But man, it's like the setup. It's like the turbo stuff's easy when you start running it, but the setup is where it bites you in the ass. Once you get the setup done, you're smooth sailing. But and again, I'm also a Neanderthal and I like my nitrous stuff, so it might just be too complicated for me because I'm missing a few brain cells.
Yeah.
Well, and that's and that well, and that's the thing. That's one of the things that kind of stops me from wanting to go turbo. Honestly, is the reliability with turbos because I feel like there's a lot more issues with turbo cars than TVS cars. Because I got everyone around me pretty much has turbo cars, and there's always this or that. Because when you really look at the big picture, the TVS, that's it. There's a belt. Aside from that, what else is there, right? You got the turbos, you got all your valves and this and that to make it work. There's a lot more components to go wrong. And even with like staging and that sort of shit too, because you see it all the time. Guys aren't up on boost and this and that. And when I see that happen and the guy loses a race because he wasn't given enough time by the flagger to get on the chip, and I'm like,
Yep.
as soon as I hit the pedal, it's there, right? And never have to worry. But
Well, I got
also
nitrous for that.
but the tunability too, the to being able to adjust, like with the turbo, you can ramp it in and shit. Where with TVS, it's like all there, so you got to make it work. Even with the nitrous, at least you can kind of like sprinkle it in, right? Where TVS, it's kind of all there. Give it a little sniff.
But I think that's the cool part, though, is like the raw factor of the TVS cars. Like, again, I'm like we talked about in the last one. I'm very dated. I like the old style of racing. I like the old style of building cars, where you're not playing with all these electronics and all this extra shit that you don't really. I mean, yes, you need it nowadays if you want to be competitive, but having that TVS clutch car, it's like, dude, it's raw. You're banging your own gears.
Oh, you whack it on the
instant
street.
power.
It's there, right? Like waiting for turbo. Sometimes you watch videos, guys hit it, and it's like, ooh, and it goes in. I'm like, on the street, when you whack that pedal and the thing's all over the place, it's like, yeah, this is badass. But
This new 80 is very laggy. I know what they're talking about now. The 75, 76 hit like a blower. Now that we have the 8117, it is stupid. It just like I hit the gas pedal and my boost is there 3 days later. So thank God for Nitrous Express because we're going to be using a lot of that shit.
Yeah, I just drove my car today and like I had it in second gear and just whacked the throttle and like the motherfucker came unhooked and it was like sideways. It just put a smile on my face. I was like, yeah, this is fun. This is raw. This is scary, but it's fun at the same
and
time.
the whine. I still love the whine. The whine's still my favorite.
Yeah, I don't get the whine until like the upper RPMs, but it screams like R2D2 on the top end, 100%.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally not jealous right now. Don't mind me.
So that's it, because I've said it before too about going turbo, right? And maybe it will, but it's sometimes I'm like, or do I just go to a 2650?
Right. 100%.
But then the thing is, if you want to keep doing the backside stuff like I do, realistically, I should go turbo, but then all the headaches that come with turbos too. So it's and I also don't want to go standalone. I like the factory ECU stuff, but
yeah,
I think I just don't want to spend the money.
The one problem I have with the 2650 is the cost. It's $5,000 just for the head unit, which is all I need. But god damn, $5,000, that's a lot. Like I feel like I could do the majority of a turbo kit for that, and probably one turbo for the price of $5,000, and just put another blower on that's gonna be another toaster on top of the car. But it makes good power. I love it.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is you've got a built motor there that's going to be able to take some jam, and you got the transmission. That's a big thing. That's where I'm at right now. And Jay's probably at the same point. And funny enough, I was listening to Turbo John and Houston did a little video the other day. I don't know if you've seen that, but talking about Coyote versus Ford, small block Ford or whatnot. And it was funny because Houston was talking about kind of where he got with his Coyote car, which is a white S197 like Jay and I's. And it's kind of like you get to that point, and then there's the Coyote tax, right? There's like I've gotten to where my car is now, and it's like stock motor, still stock MT82, blower. It's the 2-pump fuel system 1000 FIC 1000s. Like it's like okay, the next step is like multiple thousands of dollars, right?
Right.
But at least you've got a good built motor there and a T56, so you're kind of ahead of the ahead of Jay and I for sure.
Yeah, when I was putting the car together, like it was like a paperweight is what I called it because it had no motor, no transmission. I pulled the axle out, like there was nothing in the car underneath it. Suspension, all that stuff was pulled out. And then I saw Alex think about selling his Fox body. I was like, oh, why don't I buy that? And then, worry about putting the car back together later. I'm like, no, I got to finish something before I start something new.
Low
So,
key, I'm kind of in that same boat. He keeps talking about potentially selling Section 8 once it runs an 8. And I'm like, do I just put a 400 in my car and go full retard on my car and save the money and get Section 8 and use that as a stick car? Or do I just use my car as a stick car and build something else or vice versa? I don't know. It's just like you get, again, that Coyote tax where you get to that point and it's like, man, I mean, a Caliber Stage 3 MT82 or what, 6,500 I think it is, plus your freight charges. Yeah, I can get away with a Gen 3 short block forever, but if I want to go over 1,000 horsepower to go, front side racing, I need, a FFRE motor if I'm going to party, and God knows what that's going to cost. So it's like you start hitting that point where you're like, what do I do? Do I just build another card? Am I happy where I'm at? Kind of what, you got to look at the whole bigger picture. And it really, that's a hard one to figure out.
100%.
Well, you're gonna find out when a Raw goes through that Gen 1.
Don't wish that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Well, I see where
do
this
that
is
to me.
going. I see where this is going, Jay. I know where this
Fuck.
goes. With the game you're playing right now.
I'm playing a dangerous game. Honestly, my car owes me nothing if it does that, but I really hope it doesn't. Because, like, I'm the one Coyote in the area that's like, wow, you haven't blown it up and you drive like an asshole. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, with the turbo, you'll be safer though, because I think Houston went like a 590 something in the 8th on the
That's really all
stock
I
Gen
want out of
1.
mine. That's really
Yeah,
all I want out of mine. I don't, 6.0, I'm good. 6.0s consistently all day. If I can do that on the backside, dude, we're game. Like,
yeah. I think he
at
was
the event
15,
I race
16
at,
pounds of boost.
yeah.
The
If I
85.
run a 6.0 or even a 620 on the surface that we race on, that's winning right there because like the fast small tire guys are doing like 620s because it's that bad.
yeah. With those, damn, what was I gonna say? Oh, the Caliber MT82. I think it's like 4,300 for the Stage 3 actually. So
Okay.
that's pretty affordable compared to the T56 where it's like 6,500 for the complete swap, including transmission, bell housing. Then you have to get your clutch upgrade obviously because it's a different input shaft. But
Yeah, that
the
might have been what I was looking at.
the other thing with the turbos that like you know it's kind of appealing is it doesn't stress out your crank. Like a lot
Mhm.
of blower stuff, once you start doing these crazy aggressive pulley combos, you have a whole bunch of stress on the front of the motor
Even
and you
with the
get crank
TVS though,
deflection.
like usually like Pro Charger and shit hanging off the side. Like I don't really hear many people say much of the TVS. That's
Yeah,
just what I haven't heard much, anyways, with crank supports and stuff on TVSs. But
I've never really heard about TBS specifically. Whipples, I know there's a problem sometimes, but that's because it's on
okay,
the outer shiv of banks, which
Mhm.
is like your alternator and water pump and stuff. Where the TBS is that one closest to the motor and runs off your
yeah.
AC pulley. So
Oh,
maybe
okay. So
that's the
Whipple
saving
runs off the
grace.
further out. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So maybe we're good because I've talked to a couple of TBS guys and they're like, oh, fuck that crank support, just pulley down. And then one said, if I'm not turning 20 pounds of boost, don't worry about it. So I'm right
Oh,
at the
okay. Because
cusp.
like yeah, because when you said that you ordered that crank support, I was thinking, I'm like, because usually I don't hear guys with TVSs really worried about a crank support. More like the Pro Charger shit when you have all that weight hanging off the side, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's wild, and like you don't really see a lot of people pushing the TBS that far anymore now. I don't really know what the biggest baddest TBS car is out there, if there is one, because it's I see everything else. I see the badass Whipple cars, I see the badass Pro Charger cars running sevens, but then you look for like a VMP or like a 2650 cars, like where they at? And it
That's
makes good power. It makes 12, 1300, but I don't see them.
the only one I see a lot of is that cream machine. He calls it the cream machine, which I think is a little weird,
Yep.
but
Yeah, the 405 out of
yeah,
OKC.
Yeah, and
yeah,
that
and
guy's
that's
a
a
six
that
R 80.
is it okay. Yeah, I know. Like I don't know if he even runs it on prep tracks. Like every time I see it, street shit, right? Um, it doesn't 60 foot for shit, that's for sure, but it does move out the back. But I'm curious what that car runs, if he's even had it on sticky stuff, but I don't think he has. But that's really the only TVS car that I see out there that's,
Yeah,
you
he's
know,
on a bunch of the
really
same pages I'm on, and like the one photo he always shows of the car is the car doing a fucking massive wheelie on the street. And that car is on a radio. That ain't no slick car. Like that's Radio Pros, and that's all he runs on. And the car
yeah.
works. He said it takes a lot of time and data, but kind of gate kept a little bit of the secrets. But you know that's okay. You know, live and learn.
That's the
I'll
way to
figure it
do
out
it.
on my own.
Yeah. I wonder how he gets it to
Well, I'm
leave
hoping I
so
can get out and
soft.
race him this year.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm
Like
hoping I can get out and
on
race
the, on
him,
the,
and then he hangs out with a yellow one too.
I think we're good. I can hear
I think
everyone
it's
good.
Chris. It's his Canadian internet.
Is it me?
No, everything's fine right now.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
mine
it's
seems
just
to be
Chris.
good.
His internet's getting deported.
Oh, yeah, it shuts off. It shuts off at midnight, so
He's
in
got to pay
Canada
the tariff.
we don't have internet after midnight.
Hey, 25%,
Yeah,
buddy.
yeah. The tariffs start tonight at 12:01 or 11:59. So, is it all good now or what?
Yeah, you're good on my end.
Yeah,
I don't know what
I
the fuck
I
is
seem fine.
going
I think
on.
it's like it's Jay. It's that Chicago internet.
Yeah.
Oh, come on! How you gonna do that to my
Yeah.
Section 8 internet?
So, did you film your install on your turbo there? I seen Phil posted up wondering about a YouTube video with your install of the turbo. I'm assuming you got that all. You're editing that up right now.
No, I was kind of doing it all one handed, and I didn't really have a cameraman, and I had a lot of oil and other shit in my hands, and I was like, well, I'm either gonna record this or I'm gonna install it and not have any oil leaks or missing parts. So I kind of just said, screw it. I guess no content today, but I did get it running. I do want to make a video coming up soon. Once we send a data log to Manny at HPP, and he gives me the okay. And then I think the next few videos I'm going to do, we got a Chicago Auto Show coming up, so I plan on going and roasting the Ford booth. So that's going to be a good time. And then we'll obviously have the dyno coming up. I'm going to actually get that car over to Dean's Performance out in St. Charles. We're going to get that car out of the dyno, tune it up, obviously throw some power at it, go on E85. And that'll probably be the next few videos I got coming. But right now, everything's just kind of a slow burn because I haven't had a lot of help in the garage and just kind of doing everything on my own. Unfortunately, my girl's sick, so she can't be camera woman this week. So I'm like, yeah, well, it is what it is.
All I hear is excuses.
Yeah, I gotta get like you guys, man. You guys got the YouTube stuff on lock. I'm
Yeah.
slowly behind.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, I just film my stuff and I just try to generate content because I was like, oh, maybe I should show people like, what I have to go through and stuff to do this. I go to the track by myself most of the time for test and tune, but fortunately, when I go to like events, my parents want to come watch me race, so I got some small little pit crew when I'm racing.
Honestly,
Well,
that's
you
cool,
do.
man. That's the best support system to have.
Oh yeah. You do a good job with those videos too. I went back and watched all your videos from the start. So I really wish when I blew mine up and did the 3-2-1, I wish I would have been filming back then, but it was before I started doing YouTube. But you've got some pretty good detailed videos out there on that. I'm sure that'll help a lot of people over the years when they're out there doing putting together their Coyote motors, because there's not a ton out there, but the videos that you had out there were definitely good.
Yeah, I've had a few people actually reach out about my content. One of them is local up to Chicago also. His name is Cody, or I guess he lives in Naperville. You can't really say that's Chicago, but
Oh, Naperville.
he has a
I hate
TVS car.
Naperville.
Yeah, funny enough, my parents, they live in Wheaton, so people are like, oh, you're from Naperville. No.
Wheaton's not bad.
Yeah. My brother, he's up there still. He has a Fox body. He's putting together. He's trying to track down some crazy issues going on with the car. It's a Gen 2 Coyote swap, T56, 410 spool.
Nice.
Fun little stick car, and he's just trying to chase down all these small little gremlins to race the car this upcoming season, hopefully. So hopefully he can make some track events up there. And I think he thought about doing some no prep stuff, which the car is NA, so I think it would have a good chance.
Absolutely. Yeah, ironically, one of the local guys that wins the majority of the no preps at US 41, he was NA for the longest. His Gen 3 Coyote. He used to run NMRA Coyote stock. Good buddy of mine, John Leslie. We just put 150 shot on the car, and he's up in the fuel system. I think I'm gonna try to nudge him to do the 200 shot as well. But I know NA, he was whooping ass for the longest, and he's got an 89 GT, and I mean that car is going toe to toe with Victor, who's got I believe it's 2010 GT 500 with a big Whipple or VMP on it. He's making like well over 1,000, and they're neck and neck with each other. So honestly, it's any guy's game at that race.
Yeah, y'all also have this crazy guy that races up there in the north, Boss 351 Racing with that Fox body with
Yep.
G5R or G101. It's one of those G-force transmissions you hate, but that guy just gets down and he gets A to B every time.
Yeah, that's Chris's people.
My people.
You people? What do you mean?
Not my people. Oh, because he's Canadian.
Yeah.
Not because his transmission choices.
We got to have like slight racial undertones here too, man. We're all Amory members. We got to bring it over here too. Nobody complains about being racist towards Canadians, okay? It's not a thing yet.
Is there much for no prep down in Florida? Like the only no prep I know of in Florida is the stuff that Mike's doing, which is all front side, except for I think him and TRC did a backside thing at Orlando or somewhere recently.
Yeah, that was actually today, the no prep in Orlando at OSW. There's a lot of no prep racing in my area, believe it or not, because I got 2 or 3 eighth-mile tracks within like an hour and a half of me. But the closest quarter-mile tracks are like 2+ hours away. And one track is in Mississippi where they don't prep and the track is kind of shitty. And then the other one's Montgomery where the day I was going to go, they had a water main break and they shut down the track. But that track is always on kill for their test and tunes. But for no prep racing, they just do it on the backside of these tracks. Like we have this guy, Justin Lee. I don't know if y'all heard of him, but his race out here in Mississippi at Leakesville called the Inverse, and it's on the backside of this track over there in Mississippi. And they also do the same track in Atmore, which is a local track to me, and Mobile. I don't think I've seen no prep at Mobile, but all the other tracks, they do it.
It sounds like you're almost better off doing no prep if you want to get more action, honestly.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of stick shift racing in my area either. So we're actually this one group I'm a part of, we're putting together like a track day, and they wanted to have like some classes, and I said, hey, let's do a stick shift class. You know, I'll put some money on top of the class for the winner or whatnot. And I think we're going to do that in March sometime. So hopefully we have a good car count. It's competitive racing, and hopefully I can secure a W in that one. Because it seems like every race I go to, like, yeah, I qualify, no problem. But I'm kind of a first-round duck. Because Monats, I raced this guy with a New Edge Mustang. I can't remember his name. I think his first name was Chris. And I treat him. I had him to the 60-foot, and then he just drove around me with his fancy turbo New Edge.
I fucking hate turbo.
Yeah, but you're out there. You're out there swinging with big cars, though. Like you've been to some events in Florida that are like badass, right? Like you're not going up against like just normal dudes or normal cars. Those are some fast fucking cars that you're going up against. So
yeah, at FL2K, who I was supposed to race for round 1 was Kyle from Boosted Boys on their Civic.
Yeah, like
I fried my clutch, so I didn't know who they were at the time. Like I just saw it was like this dude named Kyle. He has a Civic, and I'm walking around FL2K, and there's a fucking million Civics. I'm like, yeah, I don't know which one he is, so he'll figure out that he got a buy basically when I don't show up.
Well, you get a lot of that too, Chris. No, you get like, well, I don't know. I've seen a lot of your videos, but like the IS300 was one where it's like you get a lot of small tire cars and street car, trying to sneak into street car classes or stick shift classes. Like I know I get that a lot by me where it's like if there's no stick class, they're like, well, go in like true street or new age, and then you got small tire cars that are trying to wear street car clothing. I don't know if you guys deal with a lot of that as well.
Yeah. That's a tough thing, right? So that Lexus, it's been around for a while. So I raced him a couple of years ago too when I first got into no prep. And that car would have been more street back then, but now it's not a street car. He's turned it into a race car, which in all fairness, and with him, I know when I talked to him actually at that last race, he was almost considering putting an auto in it. just because especially up here in Canada, there's not a big scene for stick shift, right? I did well the other year there, but it was really all when it was all kind of like street cars that were kind of similar, right? When we were racing back then, when I won that Wally that year. But
he's a baller, man. I'm the
yeah,
peasant
well,
here. Jesus,
Man,
but yeah, at that time, that Boss racing car, he was racing in the NA class. He wasn't in the stick class, so he went into the NA class for that year. So he won a Wally that year. But up here, like for stick cars, aside from that Boss racing car, for the most part, it was all street cars, because that Boss racing car is not a street car; it's a race car. And then that Lexus now is pretty much a race car too, right? So, and there's not a lot of car count up here, so that's kind of where I'm looking to go with it too, because I don't want to make my car a race car. I've got zero interest in that, right? So at least when I lose at the end of the day, at least I can take it and go get coffee or go to a meet, right? So I don't have to stare at it in the garage and cry because I can't drive it, right? So at least go out in the street and enjoy it. But I don't know. But like but this sick week stuff, man, all week, it was like last year. I'm like, I'm going. And then again this week. And I'm like, I think next year I want to do sick week. Like I want to start doing some of that shit. Like it's just tough in the no prep like world, like where I'm from. There's not enough car count here to be like in Canada. And then when you get into the US, like when you go to North Carolina and shit like that, like it's tough to swing with small tire cars with a stick shift or one of those fake things that go just forward and back, V-gate or something like they call them. You know?
Yeah.
fucking guys.
But
I come on here, I'm always amped up, ready to fight, dude.
They get more upset than the H-pattern guys. At the end of the day, I could care less. But it's funny when you see those videos on Facebook or whatever, they come up and it's a V-gate or whatever bullshit, no clutch, whatever transmission that they use, and an H-pattern guy will make a comment, and then all the V-gate guys are like, they get so upset.
The sequential guys, man, those
like,
folks are weird.
Holy.
Sequential guys are fucking weird. Like, oh, I have a sequential in my car. I still have to use my clutch. Yeah, but you're not an H pattern. Fuck off.
Yeah, you're not a stick car. Yeah. But like this car's a street car. I've thought about entering the daily driver classes in my area because it has exhaust all the way to the back, it has radiator, it has all that shit on there. AC.
And I think as long as the class, like I said on the last one, there's a modern class here at the first PYOP local to me, Toronto Motorsport Park. And it's for 05 and newer, right? You got to have exhaust out the back, all that sort of jazz. Like it's really directed at street cars. And in all fairness, it's not like I want to be out there and race the baddest stick cars in the world, because I'm not the baddest stick car in the world. I want to race cars that are similar to mine, like a legit street car. And I want bigger car counts. I want to go to a race where there's like 16 cars, right? Not 4.
Wait, so you're telling me you don't drive the Grub Warm Camaro that's on your hoodie?
No.
Fucking phony. God, he's a faker.
I know.
Fraud.
Unreal.
Oh,
thought you were bad, man.
No, not that bad.
How do you guys feel on that new age stuff, on the modern class stuff? Because I see they're again, if you're running the clutch tamer, it's a little bit easier, but they're wanting where it's like nothing smaller than a 17-inch wheel, and you have to be on a radial. And it's like if you're coming in with a stick car, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah,
that's the tough thing with a stick car is you want to be on a slick, right? So it's every time there's a street class, a daily driver class, like Phil said, that daily driver class probably has a DOT, and it can't be biased by, it'll have to be a radial.
The rules in my area are kind of whack because they put out all these rules like full interior, rear seat delete okay, or Kirky seat okay. It's like they're kind of nitpicking and picking and choosing what they want to make their own car competitive. And then you ask about a tire, and you're a stick shift car, and they say, no, it has to be a DOT tire. So I don't even waste my time with that shit. So
well, that's where you can cheat. Run a QuickTime Pro and say, it's DOT.
Yeah,
but you can't. They want 17-inch, right?
They make them in a 17.
Yeah, I haven't.
The bias ply?
Yes. Yep. And they do it for the ET Street R bias ply also, but those tires, they don't work as good as like the slicks. And it's just not worth it for me to buy another set of tires for like maybe 1 or 2 races out of the year. So now what they're doing,
wheels.
Yeah, now the rule is like you have to meet 4 out of the 5 rules. So, I have insurance, I have registration, I have all the other discrete requirements with the exception of the tire, and then I'll just show up. Or if anything, I'll start entering the foot brake class with my stick shift car, and then see what I can do there, because they said stick shift can enter that class, but it seems like it's a free donation. So I got a trick up my sleeve. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I don't want to spoil it because I don't know if they're gonna watch this interview or not.
Well, we'll be looking out for it. I mean, that's another question. I mean, how do you guys feel about the nitpicking classes? Because I know we've had a lot of that up by us too. Like they had an attempt at the last MKE race to do an NA class, factory motor and transmission kind of thing. But yet the people that were trying to put the class together had Fox bodies with 9.5 deck engines, and it's like that's not factory. Your half-inch head stud Dart 302 block. That's not factory. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
How
I
do you
think
guys feel
it's
about shit
fucking
like that?
stupid.
Yeah.
Because
I think
like
there's too much of that.
they try to nitpick and cherry pick a race just for them or one of their friends to win the race. So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
guaranteed payout. And it's like people that actually build the car, that's an actual street car. Like a bunch of guys in my area, they don't street drive their cars. They just trailer to the spot, and then that's it. And they will race it there, or sometimes they won't even race it. It's just like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, well, I don't have a radiator. I don't have an alternator on the car. It's like, okay, well, you got a fucking pro mod, Stop trying to say you're a fucking street car when you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that comes down to, like everybody says, what's your definition of streetcar, right?
Right. Everyone has a
But you would
different
think a
fucked
good
up definition.
Yeah.
you think a good promoter would make the classes like I always say. I would think if I was a promoter, I would want to make the rules to attract the most amount of cars, have the most amount of people show up for that class, right? So I had that conversation with one person at once where there's like one car that's stopping 7 or 8 cars from coming, right?
Yep.
Make the
Yep.
rules to block that guy out so those 7 to 8 cars show up, right? And like as a promoter, I think that's how you have to look at it too when you make these rules, right? So another thing is like all-wheel drive. That's a big thing up here. And there's a couple all-wheel drive no prep cars up here, right? And when you X out the all-wheel drive guys, you're Xing out 2 guys from coming, right? So those 2 guys, if they're X'd out, is that going to stop the other 4 or 5 guys from showing up? You got to figure that out, right? Because if it's not, you might as well let all-wheel drive at that event or whatever surface it is to try to get the maximized car count. But there are a lot of promoters are just trying to set up the rules to fit their car or their buddy's car, right? So
Well, while we're on that situation, I'm going to take this small commercial break to say everybody but Joel Zolper, as far as promoters go, here in Illinois, ain't shit. You guys fucking suck. Do better.
you know what they're gonna say? They're gonna say, J Mac from Killshot, you start promoting. You promote
I
your
would.
growth
I would be
races.
100% down for it. And I guarantee you, because I'm, again, I did a few cash days, hat races in Mexico, and we had guys come up from St. Louis. We had guys come down from all farther north, like north Illinois, like guys from Indiana. They showed up. They got down. Not a single argument. We had one road, and we got it done within maybe an hour and a half time. So I'm up for it.
There you go. The one thing as a promoter, you're not going to make everyone happy, right? That's the
Fuck 'em.
biggest thing. And then as a driver, one thing I'm starting to realize now that I've traveled around a lot for different no preps and stuff and kind of where things are going and where things have gone, and I'm getting kind of left behind because I'm not moving forward like everyone else is I just need to kind of go to where I fit in, right? Where I'm going to have fun and where I want to race, not because this race is the biggest race or whatever. Like there's really no sense in me driving 10 hours to be a duck, right? So it's just fitting in where you get in, right? Get in where you fit in.
Yeah, they started doing this new class or type of racing in my area where it's like late model cars, 1998 and newer, and then factory overdrive style transmission and a couple of other small rules. And I think they limit you to a 28.10.5 or 275. Very fair, and that's it. And then they split the class up and they have a blind index and the B and C class. And then like the A class, it's kind of like unlimited. So I think that's kind of a fair way they do it. But I just haven't had the car around and running condition to make one of those races yet.
Yeah. So let me pick your brain on this because I had brought this up to Chris on the last one. So I don't know how you feel about like the time indexes to break up, like say we're talking a stick class, right? Where there's like outlaw stick class is obviously, you know, guys like Rubworm, Granis, stuff like that. And then you have your, you know, your B class, which is, you know, like Boosted Boys, stuff like that, which are still 7 and 8 second cars. I had the idea of like, okay, the slow class, if you will, would be your factory OEM style clutches, like your diaphragm mechanical clutches. So your TR6060s, your MT82s, T5s, whatever, stuff of that caliber, non faceplated T56s. And then your fast class would be all the fucking G5R, G101, faceplated T56s. Like, let them have at it. What's your thoughts on if they were to switch up to something like that? Which, let's be honest, they won't, but trying.
Yeah, so that's kind of like a double-edged sword, which is pretty difficult to kind of make fair, I guess. Like the way FL2K does it is like you qualify and they have like 3 or 4 rounds of qualifying or 5 rounds of qualifying. If they have good weather, of course. Last year we only got 2 qualifiers before they had to start racing because we had a hurricane on the way. But I think something to keep in mind is like, you know, kind of separating those Billy Badass cars from the street cars or the little guys. Like have a separate class for, man, I don't know because it's difficult. You got faceplate
It's
transmissions.
tough.
You got going against synchronized transmissions. You have long arm style clutches going against diaphragm style clutches. And it's like stick shift racing, like usually the only rule is H pattern and then
Clutch assisted.
clutch assisted and 28, 10, 5 or 275. And that's kind of it. And they let everyone else run wild with it. And then got folks like Nick Coleman and Grogworm and, you know, the Billy Badass dudes running like 6 seconds, right? And you don't want to be paired up with your 10-second street car, of course, or 9-second street car because you're just going to get your shit pushed in. Is there a fair way to do it? Yes. Do I know exactly how? No. But I think the best way there is to do it right now is to do qualifying or blind qualifying and then split the classes up with a breakout for the number one qualifier in each class like they do at FL2K.
Yeah,
I think that's what Corey Stamper is going to do too. I think he talked about doing that with the stick shift class, having it just like Phil explained at one of his no preps.
Yeah.
It's like we almost need our, like, again, I mean, there is one event they do up here for stick shift, but it's like you really do need like a full 2 day thing to be a stick shift event. Otherwise, we're just kind of getting shit on in the bigger picture when you have, you know, a no prep race and there's like 14 different classes for different caliber of small tire cars. Cause that's the big thing I'm seeing where it's like true street is just slow small tire are full chassis cars. And then daily driver, I mean, they're really no far off than true street is. And it's even with daily, you know, like I said, daily, true street, modern, it's like they all kind of fall into the same thing. Or like now we have 275, and it's like, what's true street then? They're running on a 275 or 28-10-5. It's all the same thing. Why do we have 5 of the same classes with just different names and one different rule per class? You know, it almost makes no sense. And then us, it's like, well, your rules are going to be H pattern 28-10-5. Good luck.
Yeah, it's kind of like they put the ball in our court, I guess. But I don't know. That Wisconsin stick shift shootout or stick shift challenge, the race they have up there at Great Lakes, like that looks like a fun race. And I plan on attending it this year. I don't know if I'm going to bring my car up there. Do you know if they split that class up or is it just all one class?
No, they do. They have an A class and a B class. The slower class is a lot of street stuff. Like your car would probably do very well there. And I don't plan on racing it. So if you do come up, you do bring the car, I'd be more than happy to pit crew with you and give you a hand. No questions asked.
If
I
we
got
don't
your back.
if we don't bring my car up there, you know, I'll probably race my brother's car up there, have him go up there. We just got to get some seat time in it and have him get comfortable with it.
Yeah, I really think, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think Chris should come down for that one.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I might. You just got to let me know when it is. That sounds like it'd be a decent one.
it's in
Absolutely.
August.
It's quarter mile though.
Yeah,
That's fine. I'm gonna have to run quarter mile because I'm gonna do sick week next year. So
Fuck yeah, let's do this.
yeah, I'll definitely come up there regardless. So I don't whether I race or not. That's kind of up in the air. But will I be at that race? Most definitely.
Hell yeah. Get
I
the
got a
boys
question
together.
for Jay. I got a question for you, Jay.
Uh-oh.
Do you think a face-plated transmission is an advantage in stick shift?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think,
Yeah.
again, I'm very green when it comes to the really high end racing stick shift stuff because I just known OEM stuff all my life. But I really, I mean, if it wasn't an advantage, why would people be flocking to buy it? You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys that with their T56, I mean, they're doing like you've seen the fifth and sixth gear delete, face plating one through fourth. Like, if there wasn't an advantage to it, why is it such a hot market for guys to do? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the tell on a lot of things. Like, when you start noticing a trend when something's getting really popular and the cars that are winning are running those components, that's when you're like, all right, you can't say this isn't what's helping. You know, like slipper clutches, things like that. It's what's hot. It's what guys are gravitating towards. You know that okay, there's some meat on the bone there. There's a reason guys are doing it.
I think there's an advantage from a standpoint of like missing gears, but like as I'm shifting any faster, I don't think there is. And I think the biggest reason people would have faceplated and like because I've had those thoughts, obviously with this transmission goes is going to a T56, and I probably will go faceplated. And I think it's just for the aspect of keeping the transmission together. So I was just curious to see what your thoughts were on because I know you're against faceplating in like a class that like we
I'm
would
a hater,
compete in,
man.
right?
I'm a hater.
Yeah. No,
I
and that's
think that
fine. You can, no, that's the cool thing here is everyone can have their opinions and like my opinion, I don't think face plating is a deal breaker. You know what I mean? I think when you go like this with a shifter forward and back or
Yeah.
don't use your clutch, I think that's a thing. But like with face plated me, but you know, if I go face plated, maybe I'll that heat will be on me that it's face plated, right? But like I
Maybe.
don't miss gears. So I just think I don't think a faceplated T56 is any faster than a synchro T56, would it? I could be wrong.
I think
I
the
don't know.
advantage you get with the face plated is the clutch selection. I think that's what it comes down to because then you're able to run that long arm style clutch. Where a synchronized transmission, you can't really do that. I forgot the reason behind it, but I think it has something to do with the synchronizers on the transmission, and it gets all pissed off when you do that.
Yeah. And that's where it kind of goes hand in hand. You do the face plating, you're gonna get the long arm style, clutch. You're not gonna short out in one thing and not get the other. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it's me being a gorilla about things. If you're gonna work harder for it and race a stick shift, like you should actually work for it. Like deal with the everyman struggle. And if you want to, if you're crazy enough to get stick shift racing, then hey, we're all gonna take a bite out of this shit, and you're gonna enjoy it. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I just get worried spending all that money on a built T56 and then having synchros fail. It's like, oh, it's a lot of money but I guess we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there, right? I don't know how fast have guys gone on synchronized transmissions. That's another thing I've never really
They've
dove
gone
into, right?
sevens. There's this guy named Vlad with a Supra, Mark IV Supra at World Cup Finals. I think he went like a 760 with a synchronized T56. So
That's impressive.
it's
Okay.
doable.
So maybe I don't need face plating. I don't because my goal
I,
would never be that far. So
yeah, I don't have faceplated transmission in my car. I just got the worked over synchronized T56 from Caliber because I kind of want a street car or street drive the car a lot. But I think there's this other gentleman. His name is Dwayne Hickman. He used to race his stick shift VMP car. I think he had a VMP Odin, but he had a faceplated T56 with an Arch T1200, and that's just how he did it. And like the car was fast. I think it ran, I don't know what it ran off the top of my head, but it was a healthy running car in my opinion.
Yeah. I think like again, that's where it comes back to like where I'm kind of in a predicament is like, do I just get this car right in the cusp of like 9.0, keep it a street car with a synchronized, 6 speed, enjoy it and build something to go faster? Or do I just say, fuck it, go full race car on it, put a 400 in it, and then put a stick shift in something else, like an old school with, again, like Alex talks about, old is new, with an old car, you don't have to worry about emissions. You could run, carbureted setup, all the tunings on me at that point, and as far as like the rawness of stick shift racing, I mean, it doesn't get no more raw than that, than having carbureted old school, big block or small block, everything's mechanical. It's like, that's where I get in my position where like, man, what do I do?
Yeah, I think the S197 is like a perfect like street car, and like I'll
mhm.
probably just keep this a stick shift car, and then if I want to venture into like crazy small tire racing and stuff, I'll find a nice Fox body like Robbie did, and just find
Yeah.
one with like a roller with a cage, and then put the motor and transmission I want in there, and kind of just go out there and race folks then that way. So I still have like a race car and then a street car also.
Fair enough.
I'd
So
agree
so
with
you
that.
like Foxes?
87's not
Yeah,
not a chassis I would pick for.
yeah, I really like the Fox body chassis. If I do get like another like project, that's probably what I'm gonna do. So, but that's not anytime soon. It will be something like I get, and then it'll probably just sit for a super long time until I'm ready to do it. But I don't know. I like having one project and just worrying about that because it's
Right
easier
on.
to move also.
So I gotta ask, because I'm a little judgy. What's your favorite Fox platform?
Like, what do you mean, like the Mustang or whatnot? Like,
Yeah, you Mustang, a Fairmont guy, LTD guy, Thunderbird.
I like the notchback Mustangs a lot. I really like the 87 and 93 front end, but I know they're a bit heavier. And my brother's car is an 86 four-eyed car, and
Ah, hell yeah.
it's a Battleship Gray or whatever the fuck they call it. And like I like that car a lot, and it makes me think like if I could find like a 79 to 86 for sale with a a badass cage in it that's all set up for racing, probably jump on that and put Coyote, of course, because like I thought about like doing the small block Ford thing because Heath Maxwell, he has real teal, and that car is badass. It used to be Wesley Evans' old car, and it runs like 81, 80 at 174. That car fucking moves.
I think it's a bad unit.
But there's a lot of time and tuning into that car also that I don't have, where it's like I have like a master's or a doctorate degree in Coyote basically, and if I go to a new platform, I basically have to start over with all my information where I kind of have a baseline for turbos and everything where I could just take a Coyote, put it on a Fox body, put whatever turbos, I'll probably be a turbo car at that point, and then a racing transmission, either a Glider or a 400, and just race then. I could probably be competitive in like the street car class at TX2K, FL2K, and all of that. And could the car drive on the street? Yeah, it probably could. Would I do it often? I don't know about that.
That's the way to do it, though. If you're going full out race car, like there's no reason to play around with stick shift, in my opinion, right? Like, I think it's crazy to build a stick shift race car.
Right.
Street car, yeah, but
like
you're talking about, you're gonna put a 400 in it.
Maybe.
I have all solid bushings in the rear end of my current car, and like that motherfucker is loud on the highway. It just like everything's like kind of screaming. And I'm like, oh shit! Like
sounds like a roller coaster, don't it?
Yeah, I'm like this. I picked this. I wanted this, but it makes me happy. So, and the car works, which is the biggest thing I wanted. I wanted it to perform, and that's how it performs.
Yeah. I feel your pain because I have all the UPR, same thing like that, where it's all solid mounted. And then obviously the long travels, I did all that. And then I did the typical max effort NA guy stuff. And I took all the sound deadener out and all that shit. So the car is very light while still being able to have AC, heat, and a radio. But it's absolutely hell to drive. Like if somebody calls me and I'm on the highway doing 60, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs to try to hear them. It's pretty bad. It's horrible.
I got mine's all urethane. Mine drives like stock.
Must be nice. Damn red parts.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's hard to argue, man. Those red parts have been on there for like 8 years, man. They're still all good.
Well, there's always Theta. That's always Theta.
I think. Well, if I replace, well, I don't know. That's the thing. I think because Alex has had bad experiences with those companies, right? And the BMR experience was because of that Kelly guy. Right? Kelly was there. Yeah, we tried to snitch him out or rat him out to whoever his boss was at that time. So that's where the bad blood comes from, right?
I will say though, on some of the BMR parts, when I was working at the powder coating company, when you get a lot of, I mean, this was stuff for newer Camaros, G bodies, whatever. We'd strip them down, acid strip it, and like it's crazy the amount of money you're spending on these parts, and there's pinholes in the welds. It's like, and I'm gonna put this on an 800 horsepower car, 600 horsepower. It's a little sketchy when you're seeing pinholes and everything like that, and it's a mass produced part. It's like that's crazy.
Yeah, if I end up redoing the rear suspension on my car, it's gonna go Team Z parts on it most likely.
Team Z is badass. Team Z is badass.
That's who did my K member, or they make a K member for our cars also, and A arms. I tried to get a UPR K member, and they said they weren't going to have them until like a year and a half out was their wait time, where they were thinking about producing it again. I said, yeah, I'm not going to wait for that, and just got it from Team Z.
Yeah.
I think I figured out why my BMR stuff's all right. I just figured it out. I
Oh,
think
because you're
because it's
Canadian.
no, because it's black. None of it's red.
Oh,
How are you
Oh.
just setting me up for this right now? God,
I'm
nope,
sitting here
I'm
thinking
not
like,
going to be racist. I'm not going to be racist.
oh man,
I'm having an
have you guys
internal struggle now.
censor
Damn
yourself?
it.
Wait, censor yourself.
I'm trying. I'm really trying.
Have you guys been watching Ty and what's his face with the that's what 97 at Sick Week?
yeah, that thing is fucking wild. I can't believe that one Racing said they would tune it, and B
Did you hear
it's
what the IATs were today in that car?
I heard
Stock GM ones?
on Thursday it was like 180 degrees when I was listening to Alex's show.
240 on the
Fuck.
update today. So from yesterday, the IATs they ran at 10-1. The IATs were like 248 degrees.
Dude, it's crazy because they have the headers, and then dude, they had I don't know if you watched the video, but they cut it off basically at the collectors. Had a pipe come out the
Yep.
side of the car, and then
Mhm.
come up turbo, and then it goes from turbo straight to the intake manifold with no intercooler. So that car, I don't know how the fuck it's running. Hopes and dreams, like that's about it. And maybe a prayer.
It gives me hope for my Gen 1. It really does give me hope for my Gen 1. I personally don't watch them because I think Cletus is the reason there's a lot of yee bullshit in the car community nowadays, especially the Crown Vic movement. But like, you go to just your park and chills, and there's idiots with like clapped out fucking Silverados and Crown Vics, and they're doing dumb shit. And it's like, why is your car here? You think the guy with the Lamborghini or the R32 or even my car? Granted, my car's a shitbox too, but like, you think we want to be parked with that shit? Like, come on, man. It just kind of ruins the whole scene. But I think he made it like acceptable. I don't
Yeah,
know,
His
unless it's just an Illinois
his
thing. 'Cause-
his followers are a lot of his followers are whack, right? And like even with Cletus, I stopped following him. I stopped watching his videos for probably a year and a half now, and I recently just started watching again. And I was laughing my ass off yesterday, and I said to Lindsay, I'm like, I haven't had a good time watching a Cletus video for a couple of years now. So like, but that's like I love the racing stuff, like what they're doing right now with that $7,500 challenge and going the races and like that. That's what I like. I don't care about flying planes or all that other bullshit. Like it's the grassroots racing stuff, and that's what I like when it
yeah.
comes to his channel, and that's what got me on his channel originally.
I used to like his channel a lot when I was younger, and then like I kind of like matured and was like, no, this shit isn't what I
Yeah,
like. And then I stopped watching, and I recently started watching again just to see what it was, and like he has some good info on there. But like I also watched like the Street Alpha podcast, and when they had the high boost
Yep.
guy, that interaction, I'm like, oh
yeah.
man, that's kind of weird. But dude, that's one of my favorite interviews. Like I got that clip
Oh,
where
it was good.
just about that race where they talk about, oh, what does this guy know about racing? And he has like a fishing pole, and then they're like,
Yeah, go
okay.
to his profile and he's like fishing. What the
Yep.
fuck's this guy know about
And then
racing?
the second guy, he's like, oh, he's painting. And it's like, what the fuck do y'all know about racing? But y'all commenting, like, I think that's gold, like internet gold right there, because that's
Yep.
how some of them are. And when I first bought my Mustang, I bought it up there in Illinois because I had my dad go look at the car for me, and then I went up there to go pick the car up because he said it was good. Paid the dude, and I took it to like a car meet, and this fucking dude was like, "Oh, you're gonna put a 7.3 Godzilla in there?" I'm like, "No, what am I retarded?"
What do you mean? You don't want the new 6.8 liter Mustang?
No.
Cameron Block.
There's
I don't know, man. It seems like car culture in general is taking a big downhill, and it's funny that you
Oh, I
brought him
agree.
up. I really feel like what Alex is doing, what Tukes is doing, what Street Alpha, like that's the shit we need, man. Like that's like the revival. It's gonna be really hard to get us back to where we were, but like even like what Street Race Channel and Old Man's Garage is doing, like these are the channels that it's like please take off and like let's put Cletus in the back burner now. We're not 12 anymore. let's start growing up and like expand our horizons, because it's like there's a lot of good information, but it's still entertaining and it's easily to digest and take in the information. It's like we just need that again as a car community, because like I mean, again, the fact
He's
that we're
smart though.
lighting
That's the thing.
intersections on fire.
Cletus, like Garrett, he's smart. The guy's
Great
built
at
an
marketing.
empire. He's killing it, right? Like, I like Alex says, do you think he enjoys every day getting up saying, "Hell yeah, brother," and like,
Maybe, I don't
I don't know.
know.
The guy's maybe he does. I don't know, but the guy's making a killing. That's the thing. At the end of the day, it's a business, right? And it's the
Yeah.
character. He's brought in so many different people from different. Like I talked to one guy recently that's not even a car guy, but he flies RC planes. And I mentioned this was actually last year when we went to the World Cup, and I mentioned how I met Cletus, and I'm like, this guy had no idea who I'm talking about, and he's like, I know, I watch his channel. He's got the planes, and it's like, holy shit, I never would have thought. But he's reached out to all these different, genres of people, right? Like the guy's a genius, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
like, his following's whack. A lot of his following's real whack, and a lot of the shit he does is whack too.
Yeah, I don't know how Junior hasn't had a heart attack by tuning that guy's F-150s yet.
Well, I'm sure it's like what Alex said like a while ago, that it's like an internet facade or whatnot, or an act where he kind of just puts it on for the camera and stuff. And, he's a good showman. Like,
Yeah.
you go to the races. I was at FL2K. He gets the crowd hyped up and stuff, like just doing his burnout and stuff. And, like, he knows how to draw a crowd. And I guess that's kind of what racing needs to motivate people to go out there and keep this, like, hobby alive, I guess.
Yeah.
But sword,
Yeah. It goes back to like what Alex is saying though, is like that's what the grudge racing's for. It's like the WWE, man. Everybody's got a car name. There's big support for each car. It's like if they really wanted that, grudge racing is the spotlight. Like if you look at guys like Tony Bynes, or even for a little bit when Stevie Fast was dipping into grudge racing, it's like there's a big following for those cars. And there's so many different cars with personalities. Like again, it's an inanimate object, but it's like the car almost has a personality with the way it's raced, driven, the appearance, everything toward it. Where it's like if that's what guys were looking for, there was definitely more educated. It's kind of hard to say educated when you see a lot of the grudge racing crowd, but when you see kind of what's going on there behind the scenes with how they build the cars and what they're meant to do and the power they're putting down, it's like, I mean, some of those cars are going low fours, high threes in the eighth mile. Like these are guys that could be running at lights out, radial versus the world, but they're putting up 50, 60 grand on the line to grudge race one guy. That's crazy.
That's like Fonzo. I don't know if y'all watch him, but like he's big on
Yep.
this Southern grudge racing and stuff, and that's like
Yep.
where I live, and that's all it is like grudge racing. That's what everyone loves to do. And with a stick shift car, it's kind of hard because like no one else has a stick shift car that they want to grudge race, so you're kind of like caught on the sidelines.
Takes
or
a special type to have a stick shift race car.
Yeah.
I love that shit, dude. I love that shit. Ain't nothing better than punching an automatic in the face with a stock MT82.
Like I love Valley racing also, even though it kind of gives you the whole like street racing lifestyle from your home, I guess, like the coin flipping and stuff for money and just the stupid shit they talk about, like, well, what if both cars break? Who gets paid? And they're like, that's never happened before. And then both cars break at the starting line.
Yep. A lot of them guys, it seems like the races are one of the stipulations. They like to win the steps. If you look at a lot of them, it's just like, dude, you know what you're doing. You know what you're setting up. You're full of shit. You know your car is not going to go A to B, or you know it's going to break, but you rigged it and stipped it where if no matter what the other guy does, he loses. That's why like street shit's kind of like I was telling Chris on the last one, like it's kind of dead even for me because it's all like arguing or like you beat the shit out of somebody and you're like, oh, run it back. No, go beat some people and then call me and we'll try it after you're somebody. How about that?
Yeah, it's like people trying to out hustle each other, and take their money,
Yeah, you. Well, like I said, I seen you. I hear stories. I seen what you're doing. You're in a little bit of that world too. So I know we could relate there and share some more stories. I'm sure.
Yeah, the most recent one I can't talk about though, the one that happened last weekend that I talked about
We'll
in
keep that
your
on the hush
DMs.
hush.
Yeah. Seems like it's pretty live there though, where you're at for the roll stuff. Anyways,
Died.
Oh,
You got AirPods too. Jesus Christ, this guy's rich.
I know. Can't
Jeez,
hide
I'm the
money.
poorest one here and the slowest one here. This is bullshit.
Oh, I don't know. You got a turbo car, man. Like all
Hey,
turbo
it's a
cars are
VS
pro
Racing
mods.
Wuhan.
Shit. I don't know much about those VS. I used to all the LS guys. They put the VS Racing turbo on their shit, their junkyard cars, and they fucking run a number. But it's like longevity
They
wise, like
work.
I don't know how good they are. Like
They work, man. They work. It's again, this is my first time running one, but a lot of guys run them up here. Like it's like almost the go-to turbo. And I mean, the maintenance is easy. Repair parts are very easy to come by. It's cheap. I mean, the unit itself, realistically, if you didn't tell me it was a VS racing unit and you put it next to a Precision, you ground both names off, it'd be hard for me to tell the difference.
yeah, like
So,
I guess one of the things I was like looking at with my own car is like if I do turbo, like looking at rules for races I want to enter in, and some of the races they limit you on turbo size and whatnot. So to make a single turbo setup competitive for one of the classes I want to run, it has to be a T6, or you could run a T6 single turbo on the car. It has to be a 76 millimeter compressor with a 7688, I think is what it is, and that's what you gotta make work. And I looked up who makes a single T6 7688, and it's VS Racing. And then if you want like a super nice one, you're gonna pay a lot of money. I forgot who manufactures it. I can't
I think
remember if it's
Comp
a
Turbo
Garrett.
and HPT.
Yeah, it's one of those, but like the price difference is incredible
Yeah.
between the VS Racing one and like the other like name brand turbo, I guess. And then
Yeah, you're
like
talking like 900 to like 3,500.
yeah,
Oh wow.
well, even with the twin turbos and stuff, and like on threes, like the same way. Like you have their ceramic bearing turbos, which I don't know how much they cost, but I know they're significantly cheaper than buying HPT 64, 66s or Precision 64s or Precision 68s because of the price. But with that, like what comes up in my mind is like the quality control and like how well does that part hold up.
Yeah, and I will say, as much as On3 makes power and their price cost to entry, knowing and meeting the owner personally a handful of times and seeing him at PRI, that dude is a massive cuck, and I would never give that guy a dollar if my life depended on it. So I don't know if that helps you with your decisions on that, but Chad is an absolute cuck, and his name's Chad, so that kind of says enough.
I wasn't really eyeing up an on3 setup for the car. I was gonna do custom stuff, and I've kind of been picking the brain of like Marcus and Bryant Rogers and Michael Chambles a lot about how they built their turbo kit.
Customs,
Yeah,
customs the way to go, and I'm sure Junior can walk you through
yeah,
where to put stuff and ways to run things.
Yep.
yeah. But then
Definitely
it's
ask him first.
yeah, because then it's like, well, if I'm gonna do all that, like it's kind of like pouring more money into this, where it's like I could just save and just wait to get a badass chassis to make into a race car and just keep this as a street car for now.
I personally, being that I'm on that cusp of like, I hate my car and this car is still fun to drive, I would say keep it a good street car because,
Yeah.
like, really the only thing that stopped my car from being a full out race car would be a 400 and a built motor. And then it's just like, okay, cool. This is a true street car or whatever you want to call it. And it sucks to drive otherwise. Like Alex says about his GT500, it does everything poorly but drive in a straight line. Like to keep a good fun street car that you can still drive, go out and date night, whatever. Like your car is perfect for something like that. I really wouldn't ruin it.
And then the question is like finding races and stuff. Like, whatever races I do find, it's kind of like hard. Like I'm running like two power adder cars and stuff, and I'm only a three
Yeah.
power adder, but that's just how it is sometimes. So I know once you put a turbo on like the Coyote, like everyone's scared of you. No one wants to touch the car, especially with that no time overdrive stuff. Like on Fonzo, all those cars are blower overdrive cars, and that's how they set up races. Because once they see that turbo, it's like, okay, we don't want nothing to do with you. You could have an overdrive transmission, but they won't race you like unless you want to race like Billy Badass GTRs, or you want to race legit small tire cars that have turbo 400s and stuff. That seems like the big defining point down here in the racing culture is once you put a turbo on these Coyotes, no one wants to touch it.
That's what a lot of it is up here too. I mean, I'm stupid enough to play that game. Like even when I was in A, I was racing cars I shouldn't be racing because it just, again, anything can happen. But like even kind of going with that, like I've even contemplated, like I got a buddy that has a six gen. I'm like, I wouldn't mind playing the bolt-on game with a six gen Camaro. Like if I'm gonna go with a nice street car that I can drive, do the NA stuff with a six gen Camaro. You know, they're very responsive to minor bolt-ons where you can go deep tens. I've even seen guys high nine with minor bolt-ons E85. You know, a healthy amount of weight reduction, but it's like it's something I can still drive and enjoy as compared to like my car where, yeah, like you said, I'm stuck racing. You know, I may get lined up with small tire cars. Like, granted, yeah, I'll still do it because I'm stupid. But, you know, it's like, hey, we're here to party. Let's do it. I have this thing of like, I have a turbo, you have a turbo. Okay. I have an overdrive, you have an overdrive. Perfect. We're both on small tires. Let's party. You know what I mean? But like once I started seeing, okay, cages are not a really defining factor for me. Like that's your safety. I can see guys with 14-second cars with a cage, whatever. If it makes you feel comfortable, right on. But it's like when I see the guy with a gutted interior, CO2 bottles, all this, it's like, no, 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 fuck off. Like we're not in the same category. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think one of those design factors is like, is it still like a factory frame rail car or is it like a tube chassis car? Like, thankfully, like in my area, there's not really a lot of that, or I haven't ran into those guys. At least they don't show up on the street, but they're at the
That's a
track for
Midwest
sure.
problem for
Well,
sure.
it's Florida, man. Brett LaSalle, that's a streetcar, right? So
But he don't live there. Thankfully.
straight.
Here we go again. We got to start the controversy.
Apparently, yeah, 6 O's is a streetcar. So
I'm
there you
getting
go,
hot.
Florida.
197, like, oh, you got one of those cars like Brett does. Like, no, I don't.
Not-
This is a blower car, man. It's stick. And then they're like, yeah, but it's still fast. Come on, man.
Yeah. Well, the other problem is you get the uneducated Chevy guys that think like, well, it's a Coyote, yeah, but it's a Gen 1. Like in our case, like in my case, I should say, it's like, well, it's a Gen 1. Well, it's a Coyote. Yeah, Gen 1's not as strong as Gen 2 or Gen 3. Well, what do
Yeah.
you mean? It's like, oh God, here I gotta explain a whole engineering thing before we even start racing. Awesome.
Yeah, I just keep my hood shut now. Like, I don't pop it really. And then, like, they run up to me or they walk up to me, like, is your car an A? Yes. How did you know?
Hell yeah.
Because, like, it
No
doesn't
thunder
make
accident.
crazy sounds at idle. Like, with the Paxton, it did. It fucking whistled and had that Race Max blow off valve. But with the VMP, it's like a stock car.
I think the Paxtons are very overrated. I mean, I've seen some guys go fast on the Paxtons, but like I got a guy local to me. He's got a Paxton 2200 SL. The dude just keeps ragging on my raggedy hacked together turbo kit. I'm like, brother, you're lucky to make 700 wheel. Like you're gonna get fucking ran over, dude. Like they're good for the cars and coffee guy or the 50-year-old man that just bought a fucking pristine S197 or S550 that's like, I just want to have a power rider, make 700 and drive around nicely.
Yeah, I think it's a great entry level blower. But
Yeah.
once you start going
Yeah.
smaller than a 348 pulley, I believe, you start overspinning that motherfucker, believe it or not. So that's something that I kind of realized where it's like, yeah, I could go max effort with the Sentry and do all that. But then once I saw how much it was to upgrade the head unit, I was like, this isn't worth it. So I just pulled it off the car and sold it and then had my VMP set up on.
Right on, right on. I mean,
TVS life.
Yeah, TVS, brother.
One more time. Hold on, one more time. I would have been a part of that club. I would have been, but you know, people waste my time.
How much RPM do you leave the line at on the when you're racing?
Me or
Yeah, I got both of them.
oh.
Yeah, for me, it's all on the surface, right? Like as low as like 3,800 and probably as high as like 4,700. But Jay, he goes to the moon. Like he goes right off 8,500 limiter.
Well, it depends. It depends. If I'm on a backside no prep, I found 3,800s as far as I can get away from. Front side no prep, 200 out the hole. I'm usually about 7,200. And then if I'm on a prep surface, fuck it, I've gone as far as 7,800 on a 200 right out the hole. Let it eat. Let that clutch slip. Let the tire do its job and get the fuck out of the hole. And I'm again, this is one of those things I will die on the hill. I have not been out 60 footed yet. So amen to that.
Yeah. Like I know last.
He said, "Your turbo car now. You're gonna get out 60-footed."
I got the nitrous. We're fine. I've grabbed that fucking scramble. Come on, motherfucker. Let's go.
Yeah, I talked to Garrett when I was setting the car up at Mod Nats and just fine tuning it during qualifying. He's like, because I had my two step set at like 3,300. He's like, you got to put more in it. I'm like, well, how much should I put in? He's like, 4,500. I'm like, 4,500? Okay. And like, that shit is wild. The first time I did it, and it rolls out.
Well, the higher you can go, if you can get away with it, the higher you can go, the better, because you got more power band, especially with the Coyote, right?
Yeah.
It's badass, man. The TVS is a game changer. I envy you guys. I really do. Those blowers are badass, man. I've driven a couple TVS cars, and the power delivery is unreal. Like it truly does whip up quick and hits like a freight
Yeah.
train.
Just doesn't have that turbo mile an hour, but we get it down low.
It's not all that. It's not all that. I mean, I'm not turned up yet, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm missing out on. But I've driven a few turbo LS cars, and it's like you drive them, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. We're mile per houring, but it's like all the violence down low is where it's at, man.
Yeah. Make sure when you're tuning your car, you take it to that limit, and then you turn it like half a click down.
Well, I was getting yelled at by my tuner today, so I did well, both of you guys saw the burnout video, and he's like, well, I hope you have a good tuner in it. I'm like, well, I trust that you gave me a good tune. Don't yell at me.
Oh, I didn't know that was him. I was like, who the fuck is
Yeah,
this?
that's Manny Alvarez from HPP Racing. So that's why I was telling you, if you do a turbo, ask Lund first, so you don't get kicked out from the program, because I got the turbo kit on a good deal. Like I literally paid $1,400 for the kit. I was like, dude, I can't beat that. Like the turbo alone's worth that. Put it on the car, did it all together, and then I'm like, all right, cool, we're gonna go get tuned. And Nardy's like, yeah, I talked to Junior. He's not interested in tuning this. Sorry, we're gonna refund you. I'm like, no, fuck. So just be very careful with your turbo selection and your kit selection, so you don't get kicked out and exiled like me, because it did suck for about 2 weeks where I was like, I felt like I got broken up with, and I
He
was
didn't
just
eat.
like,
He was puking, and
yeah, it was bad, man. Like family members were calling me like, did your girl leave you? Like, no, worse, Lund dumped me.
Junior was just out enjoying life, not even worried about shit. But Jay's all can't
Yeah.
eat, puking.
Like, y'all seen that Wolverine meme where he's holding the picture? I was just a picture of all the Lund
Yeah.
guys. Alex, Senior, I'm just like,
Oh my
oh,
god.
guys, I miss y'all. It was
Oh
bad.
shit. But I think with you, Phil, you're hanging around the right guy. So I'm sure, especially with the front side stuff, hanging around Garrett and that second shift racing and all those dudes, I'm sure
Yeah, I love
they can
racing with
definitely
them.
help you get down there. Oh yeah, no, they're good dudes. So should definitely help your program. That's for sure.
Yeah, next month I got my next track event. It's Ford Festival at SGMP, so Garrett's going to be there in the second shift racing team, and I'm going to enter the stick shift class and have a blast as always with them.
Nice. You're gonna be filming that, put some content up.
Yeah,
on
I'll get
YouTube?
some content. I'm kind of in a dry spot right now because I don't really have much to film, but I think I'm going to upload a video about my buddy Scott's Cobra that we went to the track with last time. We went to the track like 2 or 3 times with his car, and we put Garrett's device on that car also, and the car was like damn near wheeling, doing like 146 60 foots with a IRS on a Cobra with a VMP23 also.
Oh, nice. Badass. Look forward to seeing that.
Nice. Now, what videos you got cooking up, Chris?
No, nothing.
We're in the same
Well,
boat right now.
I got ones I'll send to you privately, but not that I'm posting on YouTube.
Ooh. Does it involve Phil's
No,
pants?
I got things going on, but nothing to film yet. So it's coming. It's coming. We're February now, so hopefully in the next few weeks get some things up and update people what's going on and what I'm doing. I'm not totally sure of 100% of what I'm doing, but like I said, my first race I do plan on doing is at PYOP locally here. So, and I think that's not till that's beginning of May. So there probably won't be any race content till then, but we got to get some things changed up on the car and some things hopefully going here. But that's why it's good that we're doing this now. At least get to shoot the shit and get some stuff out there for people to watch and get some people linked up. I don't know if you got any new subscribers from the last one, Jay, but
Yeah,
Hopefully, it brought you a
yeah,
couple people, which would be good. And
dude, it was
hopefully,
crazy. I went from I think I had like 72 to now I got 163. I'm like, no shit.
oh shit, nice.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's good.
yeah, that was pretty
That's
damn
good.
cool. I didn't expect that.
Now we got to get Phil pumped up from this podcast from Stick Talk here.
Yep, yeah, because he's gonna be the next one. He's gonna be the next Brett
No,
Mashal.
I'm not.
Oh, he's faster than us. If anything, I'm hoping that's why I got him on here. I'm hoping that his following comes and follows me.
Yeah, I mean, I always go on Alex's show and like I just say like, oh, I uploaded a new video and I drop in the Patreon also and like, oh, we'll go check it out. They try to hook me up and whatnot and plug me in. And, all the viewers I got, like, I'm thankful for it. But it's like I'm not trying to get rich off of this. This is just like my experience, a
No, it's
hobby.
good. It's good to meet like-minded people doing the same shit, right? And that's how I got linked with you, Phil, was from Alex's show. Because I think he showed you out or something, one of your videos, and I was like, oh, fucking right. And that's, here we are now.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Turby still has more subscribers than me, so, that's,
how many subs has he got?
like 600.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he has like 600 or so. And I was like, no fucking way.
Sorry, my phone's being dumb. Don't mind me, guys. Charger time.
He'd probably only have 2 or 3 if it wasn't for Alex.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, like, I put that show on when my dad came to visit me. I'm like, because my dad's an electrician. I'm like, you want to see some wild shit? He's like, what's that?
Oh, shit.
And I put it on, and it's like the one where he's showing the electrical hookup or whatnot to his shed or fucking makeshift garage. My dad is like, is this fucking allowed? Like, does this like pass their code and whatnot? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, he just does this shit in Texas. He's like, I wouldn't fucking do any of that shit.
Fucking wacko.
How does it feel that Turvey has more subscribers than all of us?
We gotta do better.
We gotta get Turvey's sister on this.
No, let's not bump up his following from this. We don't need him getting any more followers.
Chris, don't lie. You're secretly Turvey's sister. You're just parading as it.
We might need to get him on here.
Oh,
that'd be a crazy interview.
We should make that happen. That would be funny as hell.
He's got to put a stick shift in though.
Oh god!
If he starts putting a stick in that car, then we got to get him on here.
An hour of us roasting that guy, dude.
Oh my god,
that would be brutal.
I don't even know like how the fuck it would go down. Like, dude, that guy.
Be a lot of fire alarm or the smoke alarm beeping in the background.
Every 5 seconds.
Like, dude, put a fucking battery in that thing, man. Jeez.
Was that actually from his video? I thought that was just Alex hitting the.
Yeah, it was. No, it was legit. Like his video with the beepers went off the back.
Oh god damn! That just makes to me like.
It's funny because I watched that video before Alex did his live and started talking about it and the beeping in the back. And when I was watching the video, I'm like, this can't be real. This guy's just literally beeping the whole
video. I don't know why this is so funny right now. I'm like damn near crying over this. I don't know why.
It's
oh shit! I think it's because
Junior
we all
didn't message you, did he?
God. Oh god! I feel like we all knew that one guy that was like our version of Turvey growing up.
Oh jeez!
And if you did it, you were that guy probably.
Well, there's a guy up there that Jay. He used to be my neighbor down the street. He has the white C5 Corvette. Dave. Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah, dude. That guy. Great dude. I love him. I wish he did YouTube. I think he'd be really good because he has that character and persona for it. But I remember, seeing all his hot rods and stuff. He'd bring him by, big F-body guy. And then, I moved out and whatnot. And, I'm on fucking YouTube and whatnot. I see a fucking video of him doing a wheelie down the fucking street, on the bumper. I'm like, what the fuck? Is this the same dude? And, sure enough, it was. And then he had the Keystone Light hat on. I forgot what his character name was.
Yeah, that's when he had the port still, which Corey Malone that owns Black Jesus, he bought that car, I believe, last I heard. That was a few years ago, but now he's got that C5 Vet that you're talking about. That thing has seen some shit. I'm not going to put his business out there, but if you know, that car has seen some shit. But yeah, that dude's missing a few brain cells. His shit's not right. His brain's wired a little different. I'm assuming that's all the alcohol, so I'm sure give it another 10 years, I'll be at his level. But yeah, that man's cooked. Good time to be around, but man, that guy's
Yeah, I
cooked.
remember when he won that cash days, I was like, no fucking way. He outran that CTSV that fucking blew up on the top end. I was like, that's fucking badass.
Yeah. Yeah, he used to be pretty badass when he had the purple car. 'Cause I remember seeing him at Anarchy No Prep when he was racing Muffin and all that shit. Like that car was putting in work, man. That was a bad car. That one or his old I don't know if you knew him when he had the white WS6.
Yep.
That car, the all motor one, that thing was whooping ass, man.
Yeah, I moved out. He still had the WS6, the white one, and I think it was all motor at the time. And then I moved away and whatnot. But he had that purple one. He had that Fox body. That Fox body was going to be a bad motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember if he sold it or what. Last time I talked to him, well, I just recently started talking to him again. We didn't talk for a while, but he still had it before. I don't know if he still has it, but I know he's heavily invested in the Corvette now. And then, ironically, the transmission, the 60 that was in the white WS6, is the same 60 we're putting in my girlfriend's car, which I'm like, I wouldn't do that if I were you, but sure, we're going to do that and grudge race the car. You're putting up the bet money because I ain't trusting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah, no, that I wouldn't trust the 60. I don't care if Jesus himself built it.
Yeah, he's had luck with that. I think he said it's like an RPM one.
Yeah, that's some. I know the 60 was built by Carl Redmond over at Redline, but he since passed away, and that's like her whole reason of running it because they were good friends with her family and stuff like that. So I'm just like, sentimental value is cool and all. I respect that, but when we have $1,000 on the line, I don't want to have 7 neutrals. So take it as you will. But again, the drag and drive stuff is on her schedule, what she wants to do, and I don't know. I'm sure we'll all
No
end
drag
up
and
as
drive for
drag and
you.
drive.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience, man. I just don't. Like, if I gotta change a set of head gaskets on the side of the road, I'm thinking to myself,
Nope.
like, dude, I could be.
Bro, you got
I
a
could
Coyote.
be.
You don't need to do that shit. I'm
Well,
not worried
we're
about
taking
changing.
her car, so it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
changing head gaskets or shit faced in a strip club in the middle of Indianapolis. That sounds like a better time, but sure, we'll change head gaskets on the side of the road. Great idea.
Yeah, I really want to give that drag and drive stuff a try this upcoming year or next year. I don't know, whenever registration opens.
I'm sure you guys will scumbag me into doing it at some point.
Sick week 2026.
Yeah, the winter one though, the summer one, I don't know, it's a bit too hot. Like I got AC,
No,
but I
I
gotta
was looking at
reskin my
that.
AC pulley because it doesn't work. The magnet's too far spaced off.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that in the summer. I looked at that. They're also doing one in Michigan in August, but
Yeah, isn't that Midwest Drags though?
Florida. Yeah.
There's 2 because there's a no prep one they're doing too, a no prep drag and drive
Yeah,
that they're
that's
doing in the
back to the
Midwest.
streets. But like the one that's in Michigan in August, it's right around Woodward time. It's actually done by Tom. Is it Tom Bailey?
Yes.
Yeah, so Tom Bailey, it's actually one of his events, the one in Michigan in August. But Michigan
my brain
roads,
going.
oh.
Although the Woodward Dream Cruise seems like a good time,
Well,
but
that's part of the sick week or whatever in Michigan is actually the Woodward Dream Cruise is part of it.
they got the
So it's
Midwest
going
one
on too.
coming up too. That's in a few weeks. That'll be March, I think that one goes down. Midwest Sick Week where they go to, or no, that's probably
No,
a
I think
little
it's
bit
in
later because I know
June.
they go to Byron. Yeah, something like that. It's a little
But
farther
like
out. They got that one
yeah,
coming
y'all
up.
got really nice summers up there though in that time frame. Where like here in June, it's so fucking hot. Like not trying to race the car, and if I do bring it out, it's usually at nighttime. So
It's like that up here though. Even like July, August, it gets pretty hot. Like I don't really have much interest in racing.
yeah,
Yeah, July and August is miserable.
dude, August is the worst down here because it's like 100% humidity.
I can imagine.
It's not fun.
Yep.
Ugh.
We made the mistake of going to a no prep Kings race in Hebron, Ohio, and I believe it was September. And I swear to God, I think it was like 101 degrees, like Friday and Saturday with like 70% humidity. I'm like, why am I here? Why did I do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I might go to War in the Woods this year just to watch and kind of spectate. It's like one of those crazy races. I kind of want to see what it's all about, but
Yeah.
Well, I
I
think
gotta get there too.
yeah, I was just say I think me and Chris are. I mean, I know I'm racing it. I don't know if you're going to do it, Chris, but I know I'm going to go out there and make an ass out of myself and hopefully not wad my shit up. So I will see
Well,
you boys
Jeff
there.
Thomas loves straight pipe S197s. That's his favorite thing. So
Oh, perfect. I'm glad I got a fender exit. I'm just going to get really nasty on the
next
burnout.
next time you talk to Jeff, ask him if he's doing a straight pipe S197 class. He'll laugh.
is that the race where
That,
the Nova went into the guardrail in the burnout box?
yep.
Oh shit!
We were standing
Yeah.
right there at that shit. We were standing right there, like behind the car, and we seen that car just smoke a bunch of people, and we're like, "Oh, time to go." Concession stand sound like a good idea.
Yeah,
So the rumor is that there won't be any more standing on the sidelines anymore, or
I
up
mean,
where the burnout boxes and shit.
that's
So
like Yellow
that's not a
Belly. I
bad
can't believe they
idea.
let those
yeah,
motherfuckers just like line the track and then they just race. I'm like, dude, like that. I don't know. I kind of draw the
that's
line.
even crazier in front of the starting line.
Yep.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
Well, I got one for you, Phil. Since you're from my area, you remember Doty?
yeah,
Yeah, that's how it is out there. I mean, that shit's fucking the whole quarter mile.
yeah. I never got to really race there, but like, like Strats used to be like a decent spot where you could go and like find a race actually. But like then when I bought my
Yeah,
Gen One
race right
car and
on
went there, it was
53.
just shitheads. I was like, oh well, fuck this. I'm never coming back.
Yeah, well, I remember meeting up there. It'd be everybody would leave by like 10 o'clock, and then by like 11, all the racers would start showing up. Go crack one off on 53 or on DuPage, and then fucking come back, get paid, and next one out.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be smart with
Those were
it. You
good
can't hang
days.
out at the spot. That's what they were doing down here. Is they were hanging out at the spot, racing at the spot, and then coming back and hanging, just talking shit. And then we had some wild shit happen, and then the spot's like been burnt out.
So let me ask you this, because now that we're talking about the street stuff, what is the wildest thing aside from things that we won't talk about that recently happened? What are some wildest shit you've seen in the streets of Mexico?
Man, I can't really talk about it publicly. I don't think. I'll talk to y'all privately about it, but like I don't think this is something I can really disclose out there.
We'll take that one offline, but we should probably we'll wrap this up because we're getting on 2.5 hours, and then we can chat after I end the record here, so it doesn't make its way to the public.
Yeah. This stuff
That's a good
cannot
idea.
be released.
Yeah.
Dude, eye opening.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, we'll shut her down. But so Phil, appreciate you being on, man. Awesome. Definitely had a good time. Good time. Your social. So where do they find you? YouTube, Instagram?
Yeah, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. If y'all still have the app, I don't really post on there anymore because it kind of got like cut. But it's just Phil.Fez. That's all my social media and stuff, YouTube and everything. I like to keep it simple, and you'll see the car on there. Obviously, it's a Kona Blue S197, and I think I'm the only one with that name, so I don't think you can really confuse me.
Yeah, good content too, people. Make sure you go over there and subscribe to Phil's channel, and I'm sure there'll be more content coming. And there's lots of good build content on there as well. So if anyone wants to go back, I know a few guys that are building some Coyotes right now. They might be able to pick up some things from your past videos there. So yeah, it's awesome. Appreciate having you on Stick Talk episode 2.
Don't forget his OnlyFans, Fuzzy
Yeah.
Fez 69.
Oh,
He's got great feet pics.
yes. Are you gonna send him his pants back, Jay?
Maybe. I don't know. They're kind of comfortable.
Yeah, he had to borrow my pants, so they're
Yeah.
not the most appropriate ones.
Apparently. Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe. I'll put all Phil's stuff too down in the description so they can get quick links to get linked up with you. And then I'll put Jay's in there as well. And you're obviously on PEGELOZ YouTube channel, so make sure you hit subscribe and follow all 3 of us. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Till next
Thanks,
time.
Thank you for having me.